All right, welcome to episode 173 of Cowboy Sh. My name's Ted Stovin. He is Dustin Edwards, and the Edmonton Oilers did not make it in the reverse sweep. They lost Game 7, but Dustin, I just got to say those guys played like they did not even I didn't expect them to even be in the final, let alone make it to Game 7 after being down 3 rips. So we were on bonus time from Game 4 on. So
Well,
kudos to
I think
those
the
guys.
Oilers should make the final. They got the two best players in the
Yeah,
entire world in their team.
yeah,
They should be in the Stanley Cup Finals.
yeah.
Um, it's funny
I
because
agree with that too.
we're doing the podcast and we're like literally as we speak, Florida is hoisting the cup. They're on to like the third guy,
Yeah.
and
Who
I
got it?
said to
So
Ted when he
Crap, who
jumped
got it
on the
first? Who got it
Zoom,
second?
Bobrovsky got it.
Yeah, that's cool. Good for him though, because
Yeah,
he hadn't won it before, right? This is his first
no, he
one.
hasn't won it. There's a lot of
Yeah,
guys in that team that
haven't won it.
haven't won it, so it's really cool. Like Paul Maurice, the
Paul Maurice
coach.
too. Yeah,
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 it was
exactly.
super
Like I'm
weird though. I
happy
don't
for
know.
that guy.
Did you see his interview? He
No, I
says
didn't. I didn't.
so.
I
They
turned it off. I
interview
had
him
to
and he
be.
says, it's so great. I finally won it. And he says, he says to his dad, he said, our last name is going to be on the cup with all your heroes and Beliveau and Guy Lafleur and whatever. Then he goes, but my only one wish now is that the next team that wins the Stanley Cup is the Winnipeg Jets. That's what he said on the broadcast,
Really?
which
That's
I
kind of
found very
crazy.
strange. That
Oh,
wouldn't you be like,
really?
hey, I'm going to repeat and win next year? Like he goes,
Oh,
my
wow.
hope
No,
is
he's
that the next
quitting
team
after
that wins
this.
the like. There's no way.
Well,
He's
he's
a young
coached
guy.
2,000 games in the NHL. He's done.
Oh, unless he's retiring on top and he wants Winnipeg to win. But I just
Probably.
thought that was
That's
an interesting
based
comment.
based on that comment. He have to, that would have to be what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah, it must be. But you could certainly feel that there's a sad hush that has come over the province of Alberta about
In the
9 minutes
country of
ago.
Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Uh
sad
I
times
wasn't
for you Oilers fans. So,
Yeah.
sort
I was
of,
nervous for the whole game. I just ah man, it's totally new. Like, yeah, they lost the last 3 games, but it's a totally new game. Like, just got to win one game,
it's best of one, right? Like it's
right?
best of
One
one.
game. Yeah.
And yeah, I was not excited. I was anxious to see your reaction because as soon as the game ended, I texted Ted and said, "Let's do the pod opening." And when we jumped on Zoom, we usually visit before to just talk about what we're going to discuss. And I said, "No,
Yeah.
just hit record. I want to get the raw emotion of
Right
Ted
to it.
after
I
the
was thinking
loss."
about it.
But
I was thinking about it since the game ended though, and honestly, I know that they are expected to be in the cup final and they're expected to win with having McDavid and Draisaitl, but they were 31st in the league in November.
oh yeah, it's
They
a
they've done so well considering new coach 12 games in, for Knobloch to make the cup final in his first NHL season coaching, makes the cup final after being down 3 rip. I think these guys are set for a pretty good run here the next little while,
yeah, and it wasn't
as long
an
as they can keep
like,
them on the same team.
and he didn't get like nobody got out goalied. Like both
No.
Bobrovsky and Skinner had their ups and downs. It wasn't like an X's and O's battle between the coaches. It literally came down to just like close games. I mean, they had the one wide open game, but
Yeah.
third, fourth line scoring goals, secondary scoring. Like
Yeah.
it was just like a
Good
mix
hockey.
of good hockey. And like tonight, it was really fast paced. There was lots of cycles, and then the Oilers have possession for 2 minutes. It feels like, and then Florida goes down and gets a goal, right? Like it was just
Yeah.
fast. There wasn't very many whistles. Like they handed out the cup
No.
2 hours and 45 minutes after puck drop. I think like it went so quick. There was just so
Yeah.
much hockey and yeah. So tough one for the Oilers fans. I'm not going to be one of those fans that starts posting pictures of Florida's logo on Facebook and
No.
rubbing it in. I think it's so good for the province.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's good for the economy. Like even Calgary,
100%.
there's watch parties going on 17th Ave. We went to
Yeah.
the Cowboys on Friday night and we watched the game 6 from there. And like,
Oh really?
people are at the bars, people are at the restaurants drinking. Me and Ali walked down by Home and Away down whatever street that is it First tonight before the
Yeah.
game. Like all the tables got reserved things on them. So it's good
Yeah,
for
that's cool.
everybody when the teams are rolling. And the Cates made a shit ton of money uh,
Yeah,
in
you
this
got that
playoff
right.
run. The Moss Pit was lined up for hours and hours today. They had
Started
to
at
shut her
9
down.
a.m.
yeah, shut it down from letting people in. The rink was sold out for the watch party. Um, we love hockey, and
Hell of a run.
It's amazing
Hell of a run.
how Canadian we are that we turn our whole lives into focusing on a game. But that's how important it is to our province and to the people here.
So tell me this, like on the philosophical side, like if the Oilers win or lose, my life's still the same, your life's still the same. But
Yeah,
why do we get so enthralled in sports? Like what is it that makes us so into it? Like I haven't been this anxious, and I've probably said this on previous shows, but I haven't been this anxious and just nervous and excited and like jumping up and down on my TV a couple weeks ago when they made the cup final. Like I was in Ontario and just like jumping up and down so excited. But like what makes us do this? Like what is it with sports? I don't
you know what?
understand.
It's exactly that. It's what else gives you that feeling? Like what else gives you what you felt tonight for 2.5 hours, good or bad?
A
Um,
golf match.
a golf match. Um, it's about for 2.5 hours tonight or 3 hours tonight, whether I cheer for Calgary or Boston or whomever. Um, we sat in front of the TV and we didn't talk about our problems at work. I didn't talk about my bad day yesterday. We just watched hockey and we're excited. And, you know, I think back to when I'm a little kid out in the pond, the dugout or the rink in Big Valley. And every time I'm going in down on the open net, I'm like calling my game 7 down by 1 or overtime winner. And then when you watch it tonight, you're wanting to see that happen in real time. And it just connects you to like core memories as a kid loving the sport or being at a game. Or we got a picture in our family group chat from Allie's nephew. And I think like he's 6 years old and he's on his mom's shoulder in his McDavid jersey and he's just got tears in his eyes tonight.
Oh no.
And I'm like, that's
That's
so
too bad.
sad. But like for the rest of his life, he's going to be a huge Oilers fan, and it's going to be something that takes you away from your life's problems and gives you that feeling that's tough to find. And I find as I get older, things like that, it's hard to find things that give you those kind of feelings in life. So
That's a good
I
point.
don't know. I think it's like a romance almost. Like you hear I think it was in the movie Moneyball, and they said it's hard not to be romantic about baseball. Well, it's hard not to feel that about hockey. And, you know, when the buzzer went, starting as of about 9:10, every team in the NHL now is undefeated. And we get
Yeah.
to start this whole cycle
Next
over
season.
again.
Yeah.
And that's what's awesome about it. And um, love the game. I've loved the game. I know you love the game. And we played it. We're fans of it. And in a year from now, we'll have the same conversation on episode 200 and something. And
Yeah.
that's why we love the sport. And I thought it was cool because Ali was talking today about like um Straub's, who's the bareback rider, who you know in
Straubs
Canadian Pro
Jones.
Rodeo is Straub
Yeah.
Jones. He's an Aussie, and Ali works with his better half, and she said, "Oh, Straub's like doesn't really know hockey, but he's just like so worried about not having cable TV tonight to try and find somewhere to watch the game." So it captivates everybody um, right now, that even if you're not a fan or wherever you grew up or whatever, right? So it unites so many
Hmm.
people, and you high five random people, you hug random people in a bar, at a game, whatever. It's yeah. There's my rant
Hmm.
about the love of the game, and that's all I got to say about that.
I like it, man. You kind of put it into words for me though, because I don't know. Some people are probably kind of lost sometimes, but that gives a bit of purpose sometimes, or maybe a bit of you know I don't know what word I'm trying to find, but a
I like the
sense
word
of belonging.
purpose or sense of belonging to something. And
Hmm. Being around
whether you're the most
people.
popular person in the world, or you're someone who struggles to be social, like you can go into a setting that's centered around a team and a sport, and that can all go away, which I think is really cool.
True.
You don't know what the person you're sitting beside at the Oilers game is going through, but when the goal horn goes off and you stand up and hug and high five, and people are outside chanting and hugging, and in the ice district, like it's really cool. And win or lose, that happens no matter what. So tonight they lose, everyone's gonna be hugging and high fiving and chanting "Go Oilers," and that's how it's gonna be, and that's what's special about it.
And honestly, like they did so good. Like I talked on the last show or one of the last shows, and I was like, man, we're already in the bonus time. Like to make it this far and make it to the
Yeah,
conference final or make it like past Vancouver. There's so much adversity to get to where they got, and like yeah, honestly, like I would probably have been more sad when I was 16 when they lost, and like I don't actually remember
well,
that time in '06, but I'm
it's
not even
funny.
mad. Like I'm like they did so good. I can't even be disappointed. Like they just
It's so
lost.
funny because I can vividly remember when the Flames lost. Like it was almost
Yeah.
20 years to the day. I was
Yeah.
16, 15
Yeah.
when that happened. And then I remember like being on such a high, but I was so like got so low when they lost. And then we had the lockout year, so we didn't even get like a chance to like see a Flames game again for like another 2 years almost, right? And then the
Yeah.
Oilers, the year the lockout's over, the Oilers go to the Cup final, and and not that my memory's like that vivid of it all, but I would say now, and maybe it's the new arena and things like the ice district and social media and things like that, that I would say that it is elevated to a whole nother level of fandom and like passion. Whether that's there's still the same amount of like true diehard Oiler fans, but I think it's the amount of people that have been almost sucked into this vortex of like, and I'm not going to use the word bandwagon and like, why not get excited about a team? You live in the
That's
province,
fine. Totally
whatever, but
fine.
it sucks people in. And I think that's only going to increase. And I think the same thing would happen if it's the Flames, if it's whoever, you just kind of get sucked in. You want to be part of something awesome. And like, there's random people popping up, at the ice district in Florida at games. Like it's super cool. So, um,
Man, I think I would cheer just as hard for Calgary though. I know that like I know I'm a weirdo that way, but like if Calgary was going this far, like I'd be all in on the Flames going the whole way. Like I don't think I'd be as excited about Vancouver, but I'd be pretty excited about Winnipeg doing good, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa,
yeah,
like
yeah, you get excited and
almost any
like,
team. Like I'd be happy for
yeah.
a Canadian team to do good. We were so close this year again, right? But one
And I'm
more
and I'm
year
one of those
before Canada
people.
gets the cups again.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. Like even when they're handing, and everyone's hugging at the end, and like seeing Paul Maurice, and like I know Flames people hate Kachuk and Bennett and these former Flames, and I'm like,
And they go win the cup,
and
eh?
they go in the cup, and then
Obviously they're
you
pretty
see
good.
the and I see it from a different lens because working in sports, like sports doesn't pay good. You gotta love it. So it's cool to see like, the trainers coming out and the people that are like just go through the trenches with these
And the
guys,
families.
and they get to hoist the cup up, and yeah, McDavid wins the Conn Smythe for MVP. Didn't come
Oh,
out
he
and
did.
accept he won it.
He didn't
They
accept
announced
it.
him, didn't accept it. They actually were the camera was on his parents when they said that he won, and his dad's holding up his camera phone like almost waiting for him to come out. And then you can see his dad mouth, "Oh, he's not coming out," and he said, "Let's go." And they panned off of him, and
Oh, no
so
way.
McDavid won
Oh,
it. Didn't come
wow.
out. I don't know if that's ever happened where the winner hasn't come out and got it. I don't
I
know how
wonder
many
if he didn't
times.
know though. Like I wonder if they didn't tell him or if he's
I
just
think
like
they would have
so
told
pissed.
him. I think they
You
would
think
have
they would have
told
told
him.
him? They would have had to
Yeah,
tell him.
someone would have told him. And
Oh
but
geez.
I mean, I can't
But
imagine the
how many
emotion you're feeling,
but how many
and your whole
times
team's
has
off the ice.
and how many times has the opposing player won it?
And
Because
I
I
don't know
wonder if
that.
like I don't remember seeing like the who was it, JS Giguere or somebody like one of those goalies won it a few years back, like
I
10 or
don't think they
15
came
years
out and
ago.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you lose, I don't think you're like what would
You
you
know what?
feel like if you were McDavid jumping out there like, oh hey, I'm gonna get the Conn Smythe, oh I won
When
this, like
when the ice is covered in
nobody
confetti
cares.
and everybody's got their cup hats. It's
Yeah,
different if it's like the
sorry,
Olympics where the first place team and the
maybe.
second place team are lined up on the blue lines and everybody stays out
Yeah,
there and
you're
you
still
wait
out
for it.
there.
But I mean, these guys are already packing their shit, wanting to get out of
I'm
there, right?
surprised they
So
didn't give it to Bobrovsky though, because he played good in every game they won, and that's
yeah,
the
up
cup
until game
final. They
three,
won the cup
after game three, he was on track to set the record for the best save percentage in a Stanley
ever,
Cup
right?
final.
Yeah, lowest
And
goals against ever.
yeah, so he was, but you know what?
Hmm.
McDavid, McDavid is the face of the NHL. He's the face of the Oilers, and it's too
Yeah,
bad. It's too bad he didn't have a better game tonight. Like you saw him losing edges
and
and
Draisaitl didn't
mishandling
get
some
one
pucks.
goal
Yeah,
in the cup final. Hey,
I
like
don't even
what?
know if
Like
I
how
don't.
hurt is he? He had to be hurt or something. Because like how does he not produce at all?
Well,
That's
and
wild.
those guys are playing. like most insane amount of minutes you're going to see guys play in
except for
hockey.
Game
Like,
6. Game
yeah,
6
but
was wild.
I mean tonight, like in the third period, like those guys had to have
Oh, I
played
played
10 to
half the
12
period.
minutes. Yeah,
8 and
which
9. I
is
heard them say
which
8
is
and 9.
was it? So when you play
Yeah,
half a
half the
period in the
period.
NHL, that's unheard of. Like
Yeah.
that's a ton of minutes. You know, those guys would play uh, half that in a full game, right? Or
Yeah.
that's half of what they would play in a full game, and they played that in
A
the
full
third
game.
period alone. So,
So wild.
yeah, we're getting the raw talk of hockey, and I know we're a Cowboy
Yeah.
podcast, but it's the most relevant thing going on in all of our worlds, and
Yeah. And it's this week. It's like 2 days after, so this is our initial reaction.
yeah, don't know what else I got to say about that.
No, me
Um,
neither. What do you think what do you think happens next year? Like what do you think McDavid and Draisaitl will stay together long term? Do
oh
they
yeah.
re-sign? You think they keep the band together and they run it back and like
I think the
they
most
didn't
important
so
piece.
Gretzky didn't win his first cup final and they came back and won
Oh,
four in 5 years.
oh yeah, they've got lots of life left, and you know I think they got to keep Hyman. Will be an important part of that um, group,
He's
and
already
you know,
signed.
yeah, like they've got some really good pieces. You know, and you got young guns still coming up that are good. Dylan Holloway's a good young player.
Broberg
So
now.
yeah, Broberg's good. So I think the Oilers are going to be fine. You know, you talk about the Oilers going to the Cup final so many times in the 80s and early 90s, and I mean, look at I know basketball is different, but like the Lakers during the Showtime era, they won 5 championships, but I think they went to the finals like 8 or so times. Like when you get this good of players, they're going to be in the conversation now every year. Florida went back to back years.
Yeah, they
Uh,
lost last year.
you know, LA won the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row, which is like a huge feat. Chicago did it in the Taves Kane era, won a couple. Crosby won a couple. So, um, yeah, it's only going to be a matter of time before you see Edmonton just a staple in Western Conference Finals and Stanley Cup Finals, and there's
Yeah.
no question about it that McDavid's going to hoist a cup at some point. There's no
Well, I
doubt
hope
in my
so.
mind. Yeah,
It makes me a little bit gives me a little bit of doubt after this one, but also like they came back from 3-0. Like it would have been
yeah,
the most epic
and
comeback
against a
ever
really
to
good
win
team,
it.
like Florida's a good team, man. They've got good players, and Bobrovsky's a good goalie. Like
Yeah.
and that team was in the Stanley Cup a year ago. You know,
Yeah.
like that's a good team. Kachuk's a good player. You know, Barkov, like they've got the horses, man.
Oh
And I
yeah.
keep saying, oh, Edmonton's got the two best players in the world, but depth wise and like, and Paul Maurice has those guys has had those guys playing so good. You know, they had 5 guys around the front of the net and not letting anybody in front of Bobrovsky tonight. Like
Oh, there's no
they
chance.
played well. So yeah,
Like kudos to them for resetting because they were on their heels the last 3 games.
yeah. And you know what's
Like I
funny? Like
kudos to them for
the
getting it back
in
going.
in game 4, you know, at the start of the broadcast, they showed the keeper of the cup, Phil, there wheeling the cup in, and you know, he's wheeling it in the cart, and they're like, the cup's in the house. In game 5, they kind of referenced it. By game 6, actually, maybe it was game 5 too. I noticed in game 6, like they weren't even the
Didn't even talk about it.
broadcasters weren't even talking about like the cups in the building. There's a chance the cup gets awarded tonight. It was just like, what are the Oilers going to do to get to game 7? It was like, man,
Yeah.
you guys realize that each one of these games, game 5, 6, and 7, like the Oilers, like the cup could be handed out and they're not
Yeah.
even
Any of the
talking about
games.
it. That's
No.
how that's how much the Oilers swung the narrative of this series.
Yeah, it was
And
impressive.
that was pretty cool. I mean, that made it fun. Made it really,
Oh
really
yeah.
fun to be a hockey fan of. And this was the year I
100%.
watched the most playoffs ever
Me
out of
too.
any hockey. And it
100%.
was a hell of a good playoffs. Every
Oh yeah.
series, every team was good, and the Oilers were great, and yeah, lots of fun. I just I hope the Flames can get into the conversation here in a couple of years, and
Oh, I
so I have
hope
a
they
leg to
do.
stand on. Yeah,
I hope that the draft goes well for them the next couple years, and I hope that they build, and I hope they're a contender. I hope we can see some Battle of Alberta, Pacific Division, I guess Pacific Division finals, and
yeah, because you know what?
some maybe some conference finals depending on how the stuff stacks up. But like, I'd love to see the Alberta teams go on a big run again, like back in the
Oh,
80s and
two.
90s.
I remember
I'd
two
love it.
years ago that Edmonton Calgary series
So exciting.
after Calgary beat Dallas. Like that was one of the
Yeah.
I was in there for the Dallas games, and then we were in for 2 of the Oilers games. Like the one game was like 9-7 or something. Kachuk
First
scored a
one,
hat trick.
9-6. Yeah,
Is
the
that what it
first
was?
game.
It was just insane. And I'm like, you know what? It'd be awesome to replicate that, but it's
Oh,
the peaks and valleys of hockey
yeah.
teams. Like you can't be good forever. You see it with Chicago, you see it with Pittsburgh, Boston. It just happens, and the Oilers are now in the peak of it. And I hope that their peak will yield a cup because
They got
they got
5 or 6 years worth.
yeah, like they'll be good for the next 5 years for sure.
I
Like they'll
hope
be a
so.
good team for 5 years, like LA
But they got to
was,
keep them
like
together though.
Chicago was,
Like
like Pittsburgh one.
I
Yeah.
hope, like they still got to sign Draisaitl long term.
If you're Draisaitl, you got to look at the recipe that Taves and Kane had, Malkin and Crosby had,
Yeah,
and you got to
true.
say, I got to take. I mean, you got to make money, but you got to make it work so that you can keep the band together. Because you know what,
True.
Draisaitl, if you got the better chance of winning the cup, if that's truly what you want, then that's what you'll get, and you'll get it in Edmonton before he'll get it anywhere else.
He'll probably make more money on the side deals in
Oh
Edmonton
yeah,
too, wouldn't you think?
yeah. And you know what I also love about the playoffs, and I don't know how many people know it. Like the players don't get paid in the playoffs, which I think is so cool. Not that it's
Wild.
like free labor, but
Cool to not get
all the
paid, but
NHL contracts end, and maybe JD would verify this, but I'm pretty sure all the
they for
NHL
sure don't get
contract
paid in the
ends
playoffs.
at the regular season, right? It's just you're
Yeah,
paid.
there's
I
some
think they get
bonuses,
paid.
I think.
I think they get paid weekly in the NHL. When the season's done, the paycheck's done. These guys are just playing. They get a bonus on their cup if they win the cup or whatever, contractually stuff. But yeah, it's free 99 to get to play all the way till June 24th. So
Wow.
for the love of the
Wow.
game, I mean,
Well, I
they're
I
not
loved the
hurting.
games. I loved it. It was
Yeah,
awesome. Such
lots
a
of
such
fun.
a run.
Thanks for all the good banter on the playoff stuff. It's been good to
Oh
chat about
yeah.
it on the show,
Been a good run.
and our thoughts are with the Gator, who Gator's
Yeah.
been
He's
a
reeling
friend of the show.
and reeling.
He's been a passionate Oilers fan, and their baby was due this weekend. And I talked to him on the phone, and I said, you know what, man, I have a feeling that your baby is waiting till the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, and then like it's like this magical moment. Uh, hey, the arrival
Not
of
quite.
his child safely is going to be the magical moment, but
Yeah.
I thought it might circle around an Oilers Cup win, but Gator, we're thinking of you. He's a true like born
Big time
born and
fan.
born orange and blue Oilers fan since day one. So
Well, that was
yeah,
awesome. Well, thanks for
our whole
sticking with us
top of
for
the
all the
show
hockey
was
talk.
hockey talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This week though, we've got Matt Merritt coming to us from Reno. I'm in Panoka. Dustin, you're at home. You just finished up Bassano. I just was in Wainwright. But we'll get to all that on the second part of the show after we talk to Matt. So thanks for sticking with us. Once again, the Oilers didn't win, but it was a hell of a run. They did great. And this is Cowboy Shit. I'm Ted Stovin. He's Dustin Edwards. We'll talk to you again in a bit. Welcome back to the show. This week we have one of my good buddies. We've known each other for I don't know, probably about over a decade now. We would have met I think at the like it was like a PBR production seminar maybe or somewhere in there back in like 2000 and what would that have been? 2013, 14 somewhere, but he worked his first PBR World Finals this year with a good friend of ours, friend of the show as well, Brinson Harris. Been working in the PBR as an entertainer since 2004. 10 times he's worked the PBR Australian National Finals. He also worked with up at the Canadian Finals for the PBR. I believe that was 2014 or 15. I'll have to look back at the years, but he's been nominated in the top 5 of the PRCA for the Comedy Act and Clown of the Year, top 5 in the NFR voting as well. And he's also going to work, this will be your second team's PBR finals, won't it, Matt?
My first team's finals.
First final. Okay, so he's going to do his first team's finals in October. But coming to us from the Golden Nugget in Reno, Nevada, please welcome to the show, Matt Merritt.
Woo-hoo. Can you tell that I'm not tucked in? I'll just go ahead and let it out. I've done television this morning in Reno. It's very early, and I did I put the shorts on and get ready for your show today. Got a little captain in me.
That was everybody's COVID Zoom outfits, wasn't it? It was just
That's
like
right.
business at the top and nothing
Yeah,
nothing below.
it's like a mullet of garments.
Yeah. Oh man, I am wearing pants. In Wainwright, I had to get the slack started earlier.
Prove it.
Dustin's probably
Prove it.
prove it. Yeah, I got the pants.
He's got pants. Yes. Thank
I
you.
am going no pants,
Eddie,
boys. I'm
I
with
was-
you, Matt. I'm with you.
Don't prove it.
I was
Don't
guessing
prove it.
Matt was on the shorts. I'm
Uh,
actually going commando down here. Yeah, didn't want to throw that one out there.
Leader of the mind.
Okay, first question goes to Eddie. How many times have you been to the Reno Golden Nugget?
Never. I'm a Vegas guy.
Oh,
I'm a Vegas guy. Vegas and Laughlin, so never Reno.
Okay,
so,
never Reno.
Yeah,
All right.
I have
So
not
never
been
in
in those. Never in those
Reno-
walls with my Canadian exchange getting
All right.
destroyed.
All right. Okay, Matt. Reno Rodeo, first time this year. And I think one of the coolest things I saw was you roll up with a private car to your plane on the way over. Nothing like I saw somebody comment from Abilene, Kansas. They're like, yeah, we don't have that here. It looked like, but like first Reno Rodeo, and it looks like you're coming in hot. You're probably coming in from somewhere else. It's like you probably had a show the night before or something. But how awesome is it to be in Reno and get to work with Bobby T, and I think Wayne Brooks is there, and like one of the iconic rodeos of the summer, and get to work there for your first time. Like, tell us about it.
But it's really cool. I know if you're a fan of rodeo, you've seen that sunset at Reno, and not to get all philosophical, but man, like if you do this for 20 years, it's the little things like that you see the sun go down over Reno, like you've seen in all the pictures and the pro sports news and all that over the years, and it's just kind of surreal. I'm here at one of the biggest events that I could be at. You know, there's a lot of good ones out there, but of course Reno's on the top. So just have my name mentioned with it is awesome. On the private car deal, I had been in the Dominican Republic, not to sound bougie. I earned all that. My wife, it was our 20th anniversary. So we went to the Dominican for that, 20 years, very special time. And I fly Delta exclusively. Yeah. Shout out to Bonnie. I fly Delta exclusively. And so I've been with them for years and all those trips to Australia and all that. So I got a lot of miles, and that's why they pick me up in the Porsche in Detroit, especially. So if your connection's tight, they'll pick you up, and it sure makes you feel good, but you earn it. I don't know.
You're rolling up in a luxury car, and my golf clubs are getting drug around up here by some Canadian airline across the pavement. So a big difference.
Yeah, I'll be a million miler with Delta this year, so that's a lot, and it's hard to dedicate sometimes because you end up connecting and not able to get to the right city, and maybe you need to rent a car. But I do it because at the end of the year, I can fly my family places like that Dominican trip. I used a lot of miles to get some extras, So I don't know. Any young guys out there, stick with one airline, one hotel, one rental car company. It'll pay off when you're older like me.
Matt, I have a question because you mentioned about, going to Reno for the first time and how special it is and how there's so many great rodeos. And one thing I've learned in rodeo is, when you go to one big one, you leave one behind. So, what's that like to make that progression and appreciate where you've been and where you're going on that journey with some of these events?
That's a really good question because, as you would know, all the events kind of have their own life. Like San Angelo feels a certain way, Fort Worth feels a certain way, Reno. You have to learn them. You learn the fan base, how they do things. A lot of times they do benevolent stuff like in Santa Maria where they have the Golden Circle Champions, and there's a lot of stuff for sick kids, and it's got a whole different feel. So you learn those things, and then when you leave them, you kind of have to take like in July, if you have the same events for 5 years. Your July could feel totally different in 2030, and you just get your mind set to what they want from you because you are working for a group committee or whatever. So yeah, it's a bit challenging, but I found Reno very fun. Like it was a bull riding last night, the Extreme Bulls, so they were just so loud and excited, and seemed to be a lot of people, casually having a drink and just cheering and stuff. So it was easy.
I got chills when you talked about the Reno sunset, and I was imagining being in your shoes and getting to work there the first time. And like, did you have that moment last night where you look around, and you're like, "Holy shit, I'm working Reno," and that's the sunset.
Yeah, the clouds
messed
me up, dude. The clouds messed me up. Couldn't see it, but the moon was full. And on the Cowboy channel, anybody that was watching it, Tallman brought it to everyone's attention. But the moon was setting over by the south end of the bleachers. Not setting, right? Whatever the moon does, it was showing itself, and it was full. So I had the audience howl at it. That was kind of cool. But I'll get my sunset. It'll be not cloudy one day, I'm sure.
Yeah. So is there we all have our list of rodeos we want to work and some we've been to, some you're waiting on. Is there still a few bucket list rodeos throughout the summer that you've got your sight set on, or are you pretty happy with the list of rodeos you have right now?
I think there was a time whenever I had bucket list events, and then I kind of started getting blessed enough to cross some of them off. And then I found that sometimes the more fun ones, you never, go into everything with an open mind. Sometimes the ones you didn't expect to be awesome are the greatest ones you'll go to. And sometimes the ones that you think a lot of, you maybe shouldn't have put them on a pedestal because now your expectations are offset from reality. So I just kind of smile and just go wherever I've got booked. And yeah, I mean, I guess there's part of me, I got that dog in me where I'm a little bit like, I want to do every rodeo, like a little, I wouldn't call it jealous, but we're playing football, fourth down. I want the ball every time. So I want to do every rodeo, but I don't know. I just go have fun and let them be what they are, man.
So we've been talking about kind of where you're at right now and Reno and all this, but if we go all the way back, maybe there's some people on here that don't know your journey. What got you into it? I know that's always the age old question when we do these interviews with people in rodeo, but what was the start for Matt Merritt that where it all began?
Yeah, I like to talk about that. It's cool because a lot of people, they grow up and their dad was a bronc rider or something, and I didn't have that. I grew up in North Louisiana. My mother started dating a guy. My parents had been divorced, who was an announcer. And then all of my buddies, I had a group of friends that they would ride bulls. And I lived down the road from a place called 2x4 Ranch. And I went to school with this girl named Hallie Robinson. Her dad was Joe Lynn. Hallie ended up marrying Heath Demos. So anyway, they had an arena there, and I would go up there. And I actually got on steers a couple times and stuff, but I never like owned equipment or liked it. They say it slows down for you or whatever. Like it never slowed down. It was fight or flight or freeze. I think I would do all three when I got nervous. But I always, like in high school and stuff, I wanted to be in the plays and public speaking. I had no problem being in front of people. So I think I could do the clown thing. And my mom's dating this guy who was an announcer. He helped me a lot to get going, and I just sort of fell in this North Louisiana area, and I do a couple. I think I did my first one probably 15 or 16 years old, and I didn't have a microphone. I just went out there and got in a barrel and just tried to be funny, And the next time, I think I made $75. Third time, I went to Arkansas. This was my first real job, and way up in North Arkansas. And it was a big deal for me to travel up there. I slept in my barrel in the back of my truck. I have pictures of it. And I think I made $200 a night. So I made $400. And at the time, this is in maybe late 90s, 2000, my high school teachers probably weren't making $400 a week. In my little mind, I thought, I'll never be poor again. I just made $400. And my teachers might have made $375 that week. And I'm thinking, I didn't count for the fuel and the food or anything. I just saw the 400. So it started there, and I liked it. I can remember. You can interrupt me at any time. I'm just telling this long story. But I had my jokes written down in my baggies on a note card, and they were so cheesy, like the worst jokes ever. Stuff about Mike Tyson eating people's ears and stuff. It's so stupid. That's what was popular then. So I'm looking in my pants.
One in there for us.
Well, it was terrible. You remember Ross Perot? You might not. He ran for president.
And then he run into a barricade and
I don't know about that part. I remember him running for president, and he had giant ears, and they would like Dana Carvey would play him on Saturday Night Live a lot. But anyway, it was Mike Tyson's going to fight Ross Perot. It's going to be on Paper Chew because he had such big ears. So stupid. I'm embarrassed to tell that one now, but I remember it. But I had them in my pants, dude, and I'm looking, and the announcer, I'm trying to think of jokes. I'm looking at the crowd, I'm looking at my jokes, and he goes, "What are you looking at?" And I went, "Absolutely nothing." Well, then they laughed because they thought it was a wiener joke. So I had to win.
Oh, that's funny.
When you were starting at that time, was there some entertainers in your area that you would have seen that you would have got some inspiration from? Because I know that often, guys starting out, they grab from pieces of different guys that are established and doing well to get going. were you kind of blank slating it, or did you have some inspo from some guys working in that area at the time?
And some
Yeah, it
help,
was
like a mentor to add to that.
there was a combination of things that happened. So I went to the IPRA showcase in Oklahoma City when I first started to watch all the clowns do their acts. If you know about that deal, it's on the Wrangler Network. I think you've been there before, Ted. So I went and watched that. I didn't really get it because it was hard. Those poor guys that were having to do their acts, no crowd, so it just didn't compute to me. Rudy Burns, so he did everything in Louisiana. So I went one time to Winfield, Louisiana. I think I'm 15 years old with my buddies. They were riding bulls and stuff. And Rudy doesn't know me from anyone, 15-year-old kid, probably had one of those stupid Garth Brooks belts hanging down and a hat shaped wrong and a brush popper on and idiot,
Every kid that
like,
grew up in the 90s.
yeah, trying to figure out how to fit in at the rodeo and look right with a buckle I borrowed. I didn't even have a buckle. And I went to Rudy's trailer, told him I want to be a clown, and I had kind of started. Man, he took me in there and like showed me how he did his pyro and all his props and stuff. Well, my friends, this is before cell phones, so my friends left. They thought I rode with somebody else. And Winfield was like probably almost 2 hours from my house. I had to walk to a Dairy Queen and call my mom, and she had to come and get me.
No way.
Yeah. I got trapped at Rudy Burns' trailer, like a little kidnapped clown.
So
That's the natural progression.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
He was really nice to me, though. I don't really have a relationship with him since. I just haven't crossed paths with him, but it was just cool because, we've all been that kid, right? That 12-year-old kid that really looks up to someone. And that dude opened his trailer up to me and like, sure, show you whatever you want. And, he probably never even thought there's this kid that one day I would get to do a lot of the things that I've done. And then as years go by, there were a lot more people. If you ever look at pictures of me or see me in my makeup, there's a G and a C on my makeup, and there's other initials, but the G and C stand for Gary Crocker. Gary was a guy who clowned rodeos for Loretta Lynn in the 60s, those big IPRA rodeos, and he fought bulls and all that. I met him pretty early on as well, and he had been retired. He never was a great big deal or anything, but he was just really philosophical and cool, and I'd go hang out with him. He lived in an old tobacco barn in North Carolina that he refurbished into this awesome like man cave house. Pictures of stuff all over his wall from rodeos, and he gave me a lot of really good advice. As I'm a teenager in my early 20s and all those years, about not being lazy and working hard and being who you really are. And a lot of really good stuff. So he passed away. So I always wear his initials on my makeup, just kind of my reflection of where he came from. And you got to tap into that kid that wanted to be there. If you would have told 15-year-old me we're going to go do Reno today, I would have had to write a long list of jokes to stick in my baggie because I'd have been terrified,
Holy.
When you're that young, obviously back in 2099, there's no smartphones, there's no way to capture all the
Dairy Queen.
calling your mom from Dairy Queen and the pay phones and collect calls. Did you have any real gold back then when you were, nothing was really captured back then unless it was on a VHS tape somewhere, but was there some acts or some jokes that it was like the first time you're like, okay, I've got this figured out. This is the one. And this is what's catching people's attention when I'm this young and starting out?
Yeah, I'd say I'm glad. There's two things I would say. One, I'm kind of glad there weren't phones around for some of the terrible stuff I did, the horrible, not funny stuff. I'll tell you a bad one first. So I'm in Galax, Virginia, doing, again, this is early, one of my first times to really travel very far. And I had seen this act, and I was stealing parts of people's acts. I think that everybody does that. A lot of clowns, there's some original stuff, but at the end of the day, a lot of people, you take a version of something you saw somewhere and you use it. I had this dynamite stick that we made up, like a piece of pipe with red tape on it and a real fuse in it. And I'm from Louisiana and Virginia, so I told this whole story about, I blow up beaver dams for a living back home. So I make my money, and I just want to do a demonstration for you guys. I got this. Everything was blowing up back then, right? Like every clown had explosions or animals or something. So I had buried this bomb, dude. So like I spent hours just wrapping this bomb up and getting it just right. And the more you wrap it, the louder it's going to be. And it's the Wild West. We could just make bombs in parking lots back then. And I'm going to bury it. I'm going to bury this thing in a certain spot in the arena and then run this cord into the roping box. And I got a guy, he's hiding in the roping box with a battery in the end of the wire. So the whole deal is I light the fuse, and me and the bullfighter, I'm telling about dynamite. And then the bullfighter, he's going to turn and plug his ears, and I stick the dynamite in the back of his baggie. And then he feels it. And when I do that, I turn and I do this. And then he feels it. He pulls the dynamite out, sticks it in my shorts. And he turns around and he does this. So it's the whole back and forth dynamite. And the crowd can see the fuse is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And drama is going to build. And the last second, I'm going to throw this where I buried this big bomb, and it's going to explode, and everyone's going to go, those guys could have been killed. That was real, right? So I'm all pumped about my first time to do this act. It's getting shorter. You can feel the drama. I get it just right. I throw it. Well, I'm nervous. So I make a bad throw, and I miss my mark by 6 feet. I don't know what that is in meters up in Canada, but it's a lot. I miss. And the guy with the bomb waits like 3 seconds. And then when he hits the button or the battery to the wire, it goes like a little geyser. No explosion.
Oh no!
I just have to go. Just kind of walk out, man. It was super embarrassing. So, I'll get to. I did some better stuff, but like I think what a lot of people might not realize when they see what we do, when things go good, everybody thinks, oh, they judge the clown off how funny he is or how entertaining he is. But they don't know about all the time that I'm the same as a bull rider, man. Like I took some licks, like doing stuff like that. It's hard to get back up and do it again because it's embarrassing. Like imagine failing miserably in front of thousands of people when you're young. And I mean, as a bull rider, at least your riding percentage is never supposed to be high anyway because it's so difficult. But mentally, you got to really overcome some stuff when you start out because it's embarrassing.
Well, you only get one. You get one chance in a performance to do your big act. So, did you resurrect that act? Like, did you pull it off again down the road, or did you?
It died in Galex, Virginia, baby. She's gone. You want to hear another bad one? I can keep going. I don't know how long
those are great stories. Yeah, we love it.
So the same bullfighter, Ronald Blythe, he would fight bulls at these deals I was working. He would help me with everything. He was really funny, and like he could imitate all the wrestlers on TV. Like he could do the whole Ric Flair walk just perfectly and everything. He was just a funny guy. Mannerisms were good. So he was really helpful to me in all my acts. And we'd come up with these ideas. And I bought this skunk at a store. It wasn't a real skunk. Hang on. It was like a spring with a skunk fur around it. And it came with this little instructional book. And you learn how to manipulate the spring, and the skunk looked real. So I come out with the skunk, and I'm telling everybody about my pet skunk, and I can wiggle him around, and he was running up my chest. And I get some treats out, and you can make him eat. And it looked very real. But the deal was, we had this another stupid idea. I got the skunk, telling everybody about my pet skunk, and then he's going to bite my ear. And then we had it rigged up where it could like hang to my ear. I had some tape and stuff on there, and the bullfighter was going to grab it. And then, we're going to do the whole, it's got my ear, get it off me, the whole screaming, yanking the skunk off. And then it releases, and he throws the skunk into the audience, and people are going to freak out because there's a real skunk on him, right? Dude, we go out, I got the whole, dude, he likes treats, he likes carrots, no, don't say special words because you'll run away. Me and the announcer back and forth. We do the biting bit back and forth. He throws the skunk, and everyone just goes, super lame, dude. It was so embarrassing. And I just look at him. I'm like, start laughing. And he goes, ha, ha, ha. And we walk off like idiots.
Didn't land, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, what, there's got to be some more stuff too about like telling the wrong joke in the wrong place or like the wrong crowd or the wrong political area.
Yeah, I got in trouble one time. Once. I don't get in trouble much because I try to I always feel like that's low-hanging fruit to talk about politics because in my personal opinion, politics and sexuality and gender, all that stuff, like I have my beliefs. And if you want to know them on podcasts, I can tell them. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think people come to the rodeo to just have fun. But I have made some low-hanging fruit jokes before on accident, or just felt like I was in a room with my buddies. And we had this thing, Matt West, Boyd Paul Hamas, and I in Denver one time, and we had this deal going where you would say, "Man, that was weird," and then how weird? Weird like a crop circle. It was just something we would say a lot. So we were at Denver, and something happened, and Boyd goes, "That was weird," and Matt West goes, "Like a crop circle." I said, "Hey, ask me, ask me." I just jumped in, didn't think. How weird was it, Matt? Like a Democrat, and like no big deal. But in Denver, it was a big deal because that rodeo's
No.
put on by the city, and I called out an entire political party and said they were weird. So kind of had to apologize for that one. I mean, but it wasn't bad. I don't do a lot of that, so I don't have a lot of like Hodges, Robbie Hodges. He's got some stories because
No
he
filter.
doesn't hold back. Yeah, there's a few guys like that, and I respect them for sticking to their guns. But for me, I don't want to go to a football game and someone kneel for the anthem because I don't like that. So why would they do it? It's like you're just alienating people, and I don't want to do the same. Like I don't want to give you my belief, but just come have fun at the rodeo.
Has
Matt,
has that made it any harder, Matt? Like, I mean, in the last, I'd say probably 5 or 6 years, things have gotten crazy in the, watch what you say and beliefs and all that kind of stuff. Has that changed the comedy side of what you guys do in the last number of years on where guys can go with it, or is it always evolving, or is it more noticeable in the last couple of years with the comedy side with those kind of
It,
subjects?
it's noticeable. There was one rodeo I had to go to a city council meeting before I could work the rodeo because it was a county commissioners meeting. It wasn't a city. It was a county fair. I won't even say where, but I had to go to a meeting because the clown they had in the past had said some things that people didn't like, and they wrote a bunch of emails. So I had to go, and they had to be like, "What's your material?" Um, I literally, as a rodeo clown, I had to go to a county commissioners meeting and explain that what I was going to do and what I wouldn't do and what's off limits, which is fine for me because I would not normally do those things anyway. It's made it a touch harder, but at the same time, not really. I mean, because I don't go there, but I think your best bet is to just go with what's happening. And, of course, I like have a bit of a locker room mentality. As soon as before we started on air, I would make fun of your hat and I made fun of Ted's hat. Like, picking on people sort of, to me, a bit of affection. Like you joke with your buddies, but there is a limit, and you got to be careful because for a lot of people, they, have an opinion. They want their feelings hurt. So I try to avoid it.
You can make fun of Ted's hat anytime. We all do.
I know.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of what the next piece is here. There's so many things we can do or say. The one of the stories that comes to mind though for me, Dustin, is like when Denny got in trouble in Regina over like a Trudeau joke. There was like one of those, but it sounds like you haven't had a experience like that, Matt. You've done your best to stay out of the like getting in the news for telling a bad joke. Like there's no story like that.
Yeah, there's when I was earlier on, I did one. I think one time I used to do this bit where I had like a shotgun. Again, all things were pyro and everything back then. This is 20 years ago, or at least 18, I bet. And I bet it was easy 20. I had this shotgun, and I tell this long joke about three guys sitting at a bar. One guy's from New York City, one guy's from Louisiana, and one guy's just like you from right here in Weatherford, Texas, or wherever I be. The guy from, I remember how it goes. Guy from New York pours a shot of whiskey, shoots it down, slams the glass against the wall, and says, "I'm from New York. I'm the toughest guy in the room. I can break a glass against the wall and drink anytime I want," or whatever. I don't remember. I haven't told this joke in 20 years. And then I said, how'd it go? The guy from Louisiana, he takes a shot, drinks it, busts a glass against the wall, and says, "Say, bro, I'm from down to the bayou. I grew up in the swamps with them alligators and them turtles. I can drink anytime I want, bust a glass on the wall, nobody can do nothing about it. I'm the toughest guy in the room." And then I think the guy from the guy from Texas, he takes a shot, stands up, and he shoots. I got my gun. Shoots the guy from New York dead. He says, "Yeah, well, I'm from Texas, and I don't have to drink with the same Yankee more than once," or something. Like it was a low hanging. I need to tell the joke right. But anyway, it was offensive to this lady one time where I told it, and she was from New York, and she came down and she was really mad at me and stuff. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm very sorry. Like, it's just comedy. But it's weird to me, like at rodeos, there's a dynamic that like I'm hired by a committee or maybe a fair or a group like the PBR. So I'm not representing me. Like if you go watch Andrew Schultz do stand up comedy, he can say whatever he wants, man. Like he's representing him only and maybe a ticket partnership with the venue. But with me, I'm there representing an organization, a committee, 15, 20 sponsors. You know, it's just a different thing. So I got to be careful not to do that stuff because you never know why people are there. I mean, look at Tom Brady's roast. Do you guys watch that?
I didn't get it done yet. I started it, but I haven't sat down and watched it yet.
Brutal. Like, I mean, they took the gloves off, bro. Like, it was hardcore, say whatever they want, just foul. And it's funny to me, like, they can get away with posting that, you know, putting it on Netflix for anyone to see. But at a rodeo, I can't say, Joe, guy fell off his bull quicker than Joe Biden walking down a flight of stairs or something like that. I'll get in like real trouble, you know. I have to write a apology letter over that one.
He'll be at county council.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry.
Jeez.
I want to go back, Matt, if that's okay, Ted, because we kind of talked about your start and some of the things that didn't go right in the arena. When was it? And you talked about sleeping in the back of your truck in your barrel. When was the first like, oh man, I made it? Even though now looking back, it probably was, you know, very, very low scale. But when for you was like, I'm it. I've made it. I'm where I need to be. Was there like a finals? Was there an event? Like what was it? And how long after you started did you have that like moment happen?
Man, like my mind is just rushing with answers because there's multiple. So the first time I got a buckle was also the first time I did a finals and worked inside a Coliseum. So in 2001, this was pretty early for me. I started in the late 90s. Kind of dabbled, right? But then I did the Louisiana Rodeo Cowboys Association Finals, the LRCA Finals in the Hearst Coliseum in Shreveport. I got a jacket and a buckle and a couple $100 or whatever. And my baseball coach from my high school was there. And I remember, like, I didn't like him because he was just, you know, mean baseball coach that's hard on you, you know, and thought I was fouling up by moving to the rodeos and all that. And I'm like, you paid the ticket to watch me, you know. I got a buckle here, made a couple $100, you know. I felt all cocky because I was in a Coliseum. It was a big deal, you know. And then after that, it was traveling to faraway places from where I lived in Louisiana. Felt like an accomplishment. You know, the further you go from home, the cooler it is to me, I thought. And then it got even more exciting. Like the first time I got to fly somewhere, I think I flew from Charlotte to to Memphis, and I just went over the border into Mississippi. And I flew like Continental Airlines. I bet my ticket was $89. I didn't even have bags with wheels on them. I had like duffel bags, and they gave me a roll of toilet paper when I got on the plane. They change this when you get back there, you know. Row 36 back here by the toilet. But I thought, I mean, I remember I kept my like my boarding pass because I flew like my first time on an airplane, and I'm flying to an event. I felt like I was a rock star, you know. And then beyond that, the first time to Australia was surreal. I've been really blessed to do. I didn't do the NFR yet, but I worked in the Thomas and Mack. I've worked I wore the Cowboys at the American a couple times, the Globe Life Field. Again, going to Australia, Canada. I've worked in Mexico. I've worked in the lower 48, every one of them. I haven't been to Alaska or Hawaii yet, but I've been to Vermont, Delaware, all those. So there's a lot of bucket list things that I've been able to do. And, you know, the NFR is definitely probably my next one that I want bad.
What's it going to take to get there?
And I don't know. You just got to do your job. They vote on you. So, like, it's a thing where you don't ask for votes. You don't do that. No one, you know, it's kind of not the norm. You just go and you just do your best. And, you know, I feel like the guys that get it always deserve it. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't hurt my feelings if John Harrison gets it over and over again because the guy's awesome, right? Like, you can't knock that. You just want it. Like, I go back to the fourth down. I feel like there's a group of guys that are really good at what we do, clowns and entertainers, and we're all on a football team, man. Like in that sports analogy, we're all in the huddle, and the coach just says, "You get the ball around now." But they go score a touchdown, I can high five them for it. But it doesn't mean I don't want the ball more than them.
When you say they, who is they that votes on it? I don't know this.
Oh yeah. So it's the bull riders. So there's waves of voting. It's bullfighters and bull riders on who gets to be the barrelman at the NFR. So they start with one round of voting, and there's a lot of people in that, bullfighters and bull riders, and then it goes down to who, like I think the top 15, maybe a little more than that, but they vote on the final round of voting. So if you make the top 5, like I did last year, then there's a second round of voting. So it's a long week. Like they call you and tell you made it, and then you find out the other 4 call each other, congratulate them, and you just wait. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get it. I did the PBR finals this year too, by the way, and I didn't even touch on that. Like I should have probably led with that as one of my biggest accomplishments, because I did my first PBR in 2004 in Thibodaux, Louisiana, and that buckle that I got this year from the PBR World Finals. I mean, I've done a lot of velocity finals, Australia, Canada, but that buckle is I'm not going to wear it. It's going to go on the wall, and it's very important to me.
The NFR you're getting voted on as the barrel man, not comedy.
Correct. Yeah, because you don't do much comedy. Like John Harrison, I don't know if it's 2 years in a row or just this year, was allowed to have a microphone, but in the past, like they haven't let him have one. And the
Since
lights
Flint,
went out or
hasn't it
whatever.
been?
Yeah, maybe. I want to say they gave one to Keith Isley once, maybe Leon Coffey once. I don't really know the whole history on it, but yeah, they just don't give them to the guys. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. Something must have went wrong over the years, but yeah, John's got to have one. And like when the lights went out, I guess somebody hit a telephone pole. There was a wreck or something out there, and the lights went out for a bit. And he ran in and saved the day. And that's our job, and I'm glad to see him get to do that. And I wish they would bring it back, because we entertain crowds, millions of people at live audiences, and then of course even more on the Cowboy Channel or wherever. And it's a shame that we don't get to really showcase that at the NFR a little bit. I understand it's a very busy production and big time money for those contestants and stuff, but we buy a card and travel our whole lives, and yeah, it'd be cool to see that continue for whoever gets it.
Well, and even I think the job of the entertainer is morphing a bit on the hype side for the crowd engagement piece, right? Like my example would be Brinson over and over again on getting the crowd engaged with, like, because he's probably the guy I get to work with the most up here. But there's that part of the job that the announcers are doing the, Dustin, you can speak to this too, but you guys are kind of the straight away. You're not making the jokes. You're doing the competition side, as are the announcers in the Thomas and Mack. But to have that hype guy, instead of hiring a guy like Cameron Hughes to throw 17 T-shirts into the crowd, nothing against what he does, but you already have that guy in the arena, but not allowed to have a microphone. It's kind of a weird situation where they're voting for a barrel man instead of that entertainer that they already have to help with the crowd pieces. Honestly, right? Like that's what you do every other week, Matt.
Yeah, I think the barrel is important. I mean, a guy gets in a bind in a large arena. It's nice to have it, so you can move in there and save them, or help the bullfighters if they get down or whatever.
And
I
I'm
get
not
it.
knocking that either. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know you're not, but I think I guess I'm alluding to the fact that voting for that is very important. I think if they began to utilize more of what an entertainer or a barrelman or a clown is capable of on the entertainment side at the NFR, I think maybe you would see maybe some changes in how they choose them. Like Las Vegas Events picks the announcers. They're not voted on for who gets to do that. So they're hired guns that come in just like they would be at any other rodeo.
And do you like that decision? Like, do you prefer that? Like, because that's the same with the music, right? The music is hired, is it not?
I think it is
Honey
hired.
Benj
Yeah,
has been hired for a long time, right?
I think Hambone did it
Hambone got it
last
last
year,
year, that's
and Brad Narducci was the secondary, like the backup.
Secondary, yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know. I feel like I buy a card, and it means a lot if you win something because you're voted, or you get an accolade because you were voted on. being chosen is also cool. I mean, I'd be on the fence on that. Because I have such a history with the PBR and working for a company who hires me. Vote on it. They don't, they just bring you in to do your job because you're good at it, kind of thing. So I don't know that I would speak too much on what I like better. And to Brinson's the point with him, we worked the PBR finals together, and yeah, that hype man deal, it's powerful, dude. It's good. I don't like to put parameters on anyone's position. I think that
Fair.
if an announcer's funny, let's go, dude. You be funnier than me. That's fine. And I think it's okay for me to be serious. I like, if I see a veteran in the crowd, I want to say something about thank you for your service, or a little sick kid, or something serious. I'm game. Like I think entertaining doesn't always have to be funny. Of course, that's my job, is to lighten the mood. But I just think at the end of the day, if all of us, you running the music, me as entertainer and announcer, if we'll make the audience our priority, we can't fail. Like, imagine being in their shoes and paying money, bring your family. You had to park out here a mile away. You don't drive to town often. You're fighting with your wife. You got to walk back and get a clear bag because she brought her purse. Like, all these things start to compile. And like, it's not easy to have fun at an event sometimes. And so we need to care about the people. Number one priority is care about how they might feel.
You spoke about working with announcers and music guys, and up here in Canada, like me and Ted, we work lots of rodeos, and from an announcer standpoint, we don't have a lot of entertainers and barrelmen up here. The guys that have been doing it have been up here for a long time, and there's not a lot of young guys coming up in it. What's kind of the state of it down in the events you work? Do you see a lot of people trying to take up the craft, or is it something that's peaks and valleys as far as new talent coming in and taking on the lifestyle?
Yeah, there's some young guys that are doing really good, man. I got a couple of young guys that I'll recommend occasionally if I can't go somewhere or whatever. Some of them don't have PRCA cards yet. Some of them do. It doesn't have to be pro rodeos. There's lots of events, and I think there need to be more. I know I went to we have a meeting at the NFR for the Barrelman Bullfighters, and they give a report on how things are going. And my numbers could be off, but I know I'm going to be close. And I want to say Blue Jeans is our director. He said that I think there were 101 Barrelman cards sold last year. Out of that, like 40 something guys didn't work one rodeo. They were just like probably older dudes that they don't want to give up buying their card, because you have to go through the process, and maybe they do want to work one later or whatever, so they keep buying it. So that means there's only 60 something dudes. Well, then out of that, I think there was only like 20, like maybe 30, 28 or 30 guys that worked over 20 rodeos. So think, like, the prisoners are running the prison, man. There's nobody doing it really, and I guess it seems like there's so many events, and I know my phone rings a lot. I think it's because I want to think I'm doing a good job, but also there's just not a lot of options out there. There's not a lot of guys, and so any young guys that want to do it, man, like, you could hit me up on Instagram, Matt Merritt 8. I would love to have somebody young that wanted to go. I mean, I've got extra microphones I'd let a guy borrow or whatever. I think it's fun to watch people try it, because it's also rewarding to me to hear someone's input after they've tried it once, because it's a different animal, man. Like, when you go out there and all the stuff you have to deal with as a clown, not always easy.
I was going to ask you about that when you talked about, hey, Instagram me, lend you mic. I know in lots of professions, and even in our rodeo announcing business up here, we have guys that get on their own little island and are very protective. And, I protect my schedule and my events, and I'm closed off. Is it like that in the entertainer clown business? Do you have some guys that are really collaborative and buddies, and then do you have guys that say, don't come anywhere near me, I'm too intimidated by what you do or insecure about what's going on?
I'd say there's both. Yeah, there's some guys that you can't get them to, you call them to spitball ideas or how you doing even, and some won't answer. And then there's other guys you're like really close buddies with. You can call them and you can share ideas, and, hey, I got this new act. What do you think? Will it work? Yes or no. You can have conversations. But at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to who they are as a human. Like, some people aren't that way. Like, there's a soulmate for everybody out there for a reason. Everybody's got their own personal ways of doing things. So I wouldn't pass judgment on anyone, but there's definitely some guys that they want to live in their own world and not be a part of a group. I am one that, like I said earlier, jokingly, like I said, I got that dog in me, just kind of joking around, but I do like, and I want to do every event that I can. I want to cheer on other guys. I'm proud for them when they do well, but if anybody ever wants to go head to head and see what I'm about, I'm ready too. Like I don't mean that rude, but like I love what I do. And I'm very happy and proud to do it. So if anybody's better, then good for them. If not, it's me.
I liked when you referenced earlier about working the World Finals with Brinson. What's the dynamic like? Because up here, I mean, I'm lucky if I get to an event now and they've got an entertainer if they can find somebody up in Canada. But now you talk about working with Brinson. I'm sure in the past you've had to work with other entertainers and clowns. What's that dynamic like? Because I haven't seen a lot of it up here, and in fact, I've never had to work with two clowns on a mic. So what's that like for you when you get to an event, especially like a World Finals where it's an enormous event?
Yeah, so I've done it in the past. Like I worked with Keith Isley years ago, which was really cool to me. That guy's one of my heroes. But like when it's a clown, like an older school kind of version of the clown where it's not a lot of hype stuff and not a lot of off the cuff, more jokes and scripted. All you really got to do there is just listen to what he might be saying or what he's doing and not repeat it. And then don't step on each other's toes. But then when I worked with Brinson, I didn't know how it would go. But Brinson or anybody listening knows him. He's real hype and energetic, and he's like a rat on acid. He's just all over the place. And I probably was more like that at one time, but now I'm kind of slowing down a little, not slowing down, but like I'm 42 years old, so a little bit less active as him. So I just sort of played that role. And I like to speak on the microphone a lot more than he does. He likes to do a lot of physical things. So it married really well. And like one of the deals, we just straight up used it. Like we had a break. This was at the Kid Rock Rodeo, which again, we're in AT&T Stadium, 30,000 people. My phone said I did 11 miles that night at that arena. But I grabbed Brinson and I was like, I don't know if you guys are ready, if you're hype enough, because this guy, if I let him go, this place is going to lose it. And I'm holding him. He's just like, we planned it. He's like, let me go, let me go. I'm holding him. And I go, we're going to do the wave as fast as we can. And I'm going to let him go. And you see if you can keep up with him. So finally, I let him go. And he goes around the arena and they're all doing the wave. And then he gets to the end. Everybody's going nuts and cheering. And I said, okay, kid, now let me show you why I didn't do the running. We're going to do it my way. Everybody do it in slow motion. And then we all just do the wave in slow motion back around. It killed the time perfectly. He got to show who he was. I got to show who I was. It was a good memory for me. But man, me and him, I feel like we bonded there. It was good. I actually didn't know how it would go, just like he didn't. Truly enjoyed it. Like it was, I feel like this. So if you guys have all done tons of events. A lot of times there's two announcers, and it'll be like, all right, we're going to go down to John Doe and the buck and shoots. He's got a bull called Bodacious. If he can beat 90 points, he's going to win the whole kabang. And then the guy goes, that's right, $1 million on the line, blah, blah, blah. He finishes the sentence, right? That's really how it was for me and Brinson. He would say, we're going to give away some stuff from Tractor Supply. We've got whatever, shopping spree coming your way. Isn't that right, Matt? That's right. I'm over here in section 26 among the people. Boom. It was like I had a partner. It was cool.
Yeah, that is it's interesting how you talk about how important that is for one guy to start it and finish it. And I know I've been victim on working with two announcers where one guy's like, I'm going to start the ride, I'm going to finish the ride, and when the next guy's ready, you can take over. So it's so important to have that. So that's what I wanted to ask next on, Matt, was working with announcers. That's such a big part of what you do, and it's so important. Maybe talk about some of your favorites. You don't have to say any names on the ones that aren't your favorites, but love to hear your experience with some of the greats that you've got to work with along the way and how important it is.
I'll say this:
burned
don't
by an announcer. Sometimes you might get burned too, or a music guy.
Yeah, I've been burned before. I'll say this, and the people might think this is just me, because I'm on a podcast and I'm just trying to be political, but straight up, never had a problem, because I think it's partly because of the way I feel. I think I've been around some guys that wanted to be sour and angry and not have a good day and just whatever, but I just smile through it, kill them with kindness whenever I come across that. and it's rare that you have it. But man, like, just we're here for the people. If you keep going back to that, I have no drama at all. I do, however, I have had some guys before that couldn't understand what I was trying to do, and so like when I would do acts back in the day, like where it was a script, you know, like you walk out with prop and they need to say this part. I used to have a car and all that. And if they don't say their line or play the right song, you can't mentally move on what you need to do. And so I kind of quit all that because of announcers in a way and music directors, not because they were screwing me over or nothing, but it almost felt like, why am I making this so difficult? And when I finally cut the chains of the acts and the scripts and the jokes in my list and things that I felt like, you know, this was probably, I don't know how many years ago, but I can just kind of remember that time in my career. I felt like, you know, when Forrest Gump's running and he's got those braces on and then they start to fall off. And then all of a sudden he's like the fastest guy in the world, you know? That's how I felt when I finally just let all that go, quit relying on other people to help me provide comedy, and just go be me, man. Like that's what the GC, Gary Crocker, he taught me. Like, be you. Like, have fun with the people and talk about what's happening in the moment. When I learned that, that's when I started to catapult and feel comfortable in any arena, in any country. It's just because all you're doing is having fun. Simple.
So is that like the act that we had where we did all the different music pieces? Like, because I probably screwed that up somewhere along the way where we had to have like this, and this, and it just like that's exactly what you're saying. You're relying on somebody else for your job, and it makes it tough for both at sometimes. Because if I screwed up, then I mess you up.
Yeah, well, as an entertainer, we forget. Like my daughter, she does Liberty acts now with her horse, and like when you're the person doing the act and you're the center stage and you're in the arena, it's really easy to start feeling like it's about me. It's all me, man. They got to do this for me. I need the lighting to be right. I need them to play this song at the right time, say the right words. So easy to fall down that rabbit hole, feeling like it's about you. But then we need to remember that the music director, he might be up there dealing with a technical issue. He's got a laptop going out, or his mouse came unplugged because somebody walked by and kicked the cord. I don't know. Like there's so many things that we have to worry about with you guys, and it's just a little easier to take it away. Man, I'm not knocking anybody who does those acts, you know, because sometimes there's some of the greatest things we have in our sport is acts. But I think I've announced before and I've mixed music before, and I think it was very helpful because when you learn what other people are going through, you learn ways to make their job easier, not harder.
So I got to go back. So who's the favorites you've worked with on the mic? Not
Oh,
to
lots
single
of them,
anybody
man.
out, but you've worked
No,
with all
no,
the
that's cool.
greats.
Yeah, I have, man. Like, so everybody has like something that they're really good at. There was a time when I was working the Velocity Tour event a number of years, and it was Richard Jones playing music. It was Scott Grover and Luke Kaufman announcing. I handed Luke his first microphone when he was like 14. There was a junior rodeo, high school rodeo, something in Love Valley, North Carolina, by my house. They needed an announcer. They called me, and I said, "All right, I could do it, whatever, but I don't have any equipment." Well, I had met Luke. He was like singing. He was in a band, and he was a kid. He was like singing at Cowboy Church at the SRA Finals in Asheville, and I met him. And I called him. I mean, he may have been a little older than 14. I had met him when he was 14. He was a little older by now. And I was like, "Hey, can you bring your stuff up and we can announce together?" Anyway, Luke brought big freaking giant, like a desktop computer, like the whole brings it up with his music on it. We got through it. And anyway, just letting you know how long I've known him. But the time when Scott Grover, Luke Kaufman, and Richard Jones and myself would work week after week after week of the Velocity Tour, it was the best times of my career where I was freed up to say I could come up with content. We'd be in Bangor, Maine. I could do something specifically about that day, that night, something in the news in Bangor. They would follow along and just pick things up with me. We have ear monitors. They're talking to me. Go here next. You know, so I would say that group was the highlights of my ability, I think, so far. But then I've worked with so many greats, like you said. I mean, guys that are Hall of Famers. Bob Tom and some of the stuff that he can say and where his mind goes is really good for me because it keeps me fresh too.
Well, it's funny you talk about that crew. I just want to jump in with the first time I worked with Richard was at the PBR Canada Finals, and Ted, you weren't doing the music yet, I don't think. You were doing your website, and Richard was doing the music, and I was announcing with Brett Gardner, and this was in Saskatoon. I think you were there the next year, Matt. I wasn't there, but there was a guy from Mexico. I can't remember what his name was. I think he ended up winning the night that night, and he was getting ready in the chutes, and Richard was doing music, and all of a sudden this voice comes on the speakers, and I look over, and Richard had grabbed a microphone and just gets off to announce, and the guy that was about to nod, and I looked over at Brett, and he goes, "Oh yeah, Richard will jump in if he feels like he's got something to say." So yeah, it was hilarious. I'm like, the music guy just grabbed the mic and he's going.
Just
And then
freed up.
I found out that obviously Richard had announced throughout the course of his career as well. So
I probably need to throw Brad Narducci in that mix too, because he was at a lot of those events with us. He would fill in when Richard couldn't be there. That group, not taking anything away from anything I've ever done, that group, we just jived. I mean, you would do, I think back then we were doing 26 events together almost consecutively. So we got good together.
which in our business is kind of rare that you get to have such a a similar group working events week in and week out, because sometimes we're going from town to town, and you got a different clown and a different sound guy and a different co-announcer, and everything's
Every
different
week
all the
in the
time.
rodeo
Yeah, the
world.
only thing that stays the same is nothing's the same. So that had to been pretty
Everything
good for you
changes.
guys. Yeah, for you guys to hone your craft together, because I mean, you talk about that list of guys. When I think about it, I mean, those are all guys that are here on the list of the guys who've done it the best in bull riding and rodeo.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that time together, excuse me, the time together is what probably makes it good. And we would eat lunch together and we go watch a movie together. And like, I knew we hang out with each other's families, like that kind of thing. It made us really good. And so it's challenging to roll into town, especially if you've never met someone. I got to carry these flash drives and stuff. So like if I meet, let's say I never worked with Ted and you, and all of a sudden we got to meet in Medicine Hat, Canada one day and make something work we got 2 performances, you know, it's tough. So that's why I think you got to have that good attitude and that open mind and think about the crowd. So if you're thinking about them, Ted's thinking about them, and I'm thinking about them, we can't fail. Like just anybody out there doing this, put those people first. They're the only reason we're here.
Okay, I got to go back to one other thing. We got lots we can still get to here, but you talked about your first buckle, and you didn't have a buckle before. So how long did you wear that first buckle for? And then why aren't you going to wear the World Finals buckle? I would have put that thing on immediately and been rocking it. Like Brinson already had his on. I saw him like the week after.
He wore his in the performance because he wears those golf suits. He wore his in the performance. No, I did wear it that weekend because I'm more of so I have a man room at home. It looks like a Cracker Barrel. Like I save everything, and I would rather it not
boarding
get scratched
passes,
up.
buckles.
Yeah, boarding pass. You know what I have? I have every production log from every event I've ever worked.
Oh my gosh.
I know you can go to my man room. I have these wooden boxes. You just grab a random one. It might be Saskatoon. You can see, oh, this is the first time, whoever got on a bull, or, there's also some stuff, the night we lost Mason Lowe. I came across that one the other day out there looking, and I was like, man, I looked at it, and Blue Mitchell got on after him, and I mean, we didn't know that he was gone, but it's kind of scary, pretty obvious. And I looked at that sheet and I thought, man, wonder how that was for Blue. He had to go do something that somebody just got badly hurt doing. And it's just memories that I save stuff because of that. And I don't know if it's weird or not, but I keep everything.
That's cool. I mean, it's cool to go back and look at that, because I often hear guys that have been in rodeo for a long time talk about you forget more of the rodeos you've been to than anything, right? And as the years go by, it's like, oh yeah, I did go there, I did do that, and stuff like that. So that's pretty neat to keep all that, I think.
Yeah, I make notes too. So like on my comedy, like if I was in Reno, Nevada, and I wanted to make a joke about whatever happened in Reno that day, I'll write these things down, and I look at the national day calendars and celebrities' birthdays, and I write stuff down to just look for material. So if you look back at that, I can laugh at what I thought was going to be good, or this did work, or this was super. It's like a skunk. It was stupid. But like, hey, Chris Shivers, the last bull he ever got on, at that, what they call it, what they call that thing? It was a pay-per-view.
Unfinished
Unfinished
business.
business.
Yeah.
I worked that event, and I'm the first guy to hug Chris Shivers when he rode his last bull. I'm the first guy to hug Mike White when he rode his last bull. He's my brother-in-law, so not as cool as Chris Shivers, but yeah. So it was like those memories, and I look back and they unlock for me. Like Chris Shivers. I was there. I have a picture of me and him, and he actually looks like he likes me. That's cool.
That's cool. I remember doing an amateur rodeo that night. It was in like June sometime, and
it was hot and
and
it rained and muddy. Yeah.
The long weekend in May.
was that what it was? And
Yeah.
I remember
Like May
we
24th.
were rushing back from the Toefield Amateur Rodeo to try and get to Curtis Neufeld's house, Ted, who to try and
Yeah.
watch this pay-per-view because none of us wanted to miss Unfinished Business. That was really cool.
Yeah.
You were talking about celebrities' birthdays and humor and stuff like that. I wanted to ask you on the show, like, where do you get your inspiration for humor? I know some guy watches the news and read the paper and local coffee shop chatter to get some local
Comedians,
content.
probably.
Yeah. What where do you get what you use for material? Where do you get the inspiration and dig it up?
So hanging out with the announcers and the music directors is really good because you create a bond, and like you're in town, you see something funny, you can turn it into comedy. Like you said, news, TV. Right now we're changing. We got this whole social media world going on. Like the "What's up, brother?" or this guy sketch. Little things like that. The new dances that come along. Like you try to keep up with social media. So um, that, and then like I said, the National Day calendar, celebrity birthdays, and then a lot of it's just what's happening at the arena. So like I'm watching the audience. A lot of times you might not realize it when there's a horse bucking. I feel pretty safe. Horses aren't going to, like a bull, run you down. So I'm looking in the audience, and I spot a guy over here in overalls and no shirt on. Like I could tell you right away. I could go to this guy in the downtime and say, "Hey, follow me with a camera," and he's going to give me 45 seconds easy of something to kill time with. So stuff like that too. You got to let it unfold. You can't force things either. I learned over the years that trying to force comedy is bad too.
With a crowd piece, there has to be something that's gone awry with one of those too.
Yeah, you get people that like flip the camera off, or every now and then a girl, like, no, stop, you can't do that. Stuff like that will happen, and I've never been blamed for it, but I probably should have been.
Oh dear.
I had someone ask me this not that long ago, and we get caught up in what we're doing in the arena and the accomplishments. What's been the coolest thing you've got to witness for somebody, or what's the rodeo moment that hasn't happened to you that's been the coolest thing to be a part of outside of hugging Chris Shivers, which is a cool one, but is there one that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of them. The most recent, Casio Diaz wins $1 million at the PBR World Finals and changes his life. I'm sponsored by Lane Frost brand, and I've gotten to know Lane's parents, Stetson Wright, Stetson Frost, who runs the company. So the whole Casio Diaz doing the Lane Frost wave, like I'm in the arena as he's about to win, and you could feel it, And I'm trying to get the crowd to do the Lane Frost wave, just to cheer him on and get the mood right. It made me a little bit emotional because of my ties to the Lane Frost brand group, and then what he did, and to see the true joy that he had on his face. And them guys down there in Brazil, some of those guys, they come from, I mean, you think poor people, you think you've had it rough. I don't know about it rough compared to what some of those guys came from, and to see his life change is pretty awesome. And a lot of moments like that where guys, won. And then there's the times where it wasn't for money. It was just, I saw JB get on Bushwhacker a bunch of different times. And my father-in-law actually taught JB how to ride bulls. So see him be successful was pretty special to me. He called me. I remember he called me the first time he won. He won a CBR. He won 10 grand. I was in Florida. I can remember it. He called me. "Hey man, I just won $10,000. I'm like, "No way, 10 grand." And like now, he probably wouldn't take a $10,000 show up fee. But to see success, over not just at one time, but over the years for guys is cool.
When did you move to North Carolina, and what was the why behind that? Because that's where you got hooked up with JB and Luke and I guess Jerome and like a lot of that crew was pretty early on, right?
True, yeah. They would have been kids actually. So, when I started, remember me mentioning Galax, Virginia?
Yeah.
So that was the first time I went east, and that was, I don't remember what year. I've got my calendars too, so I save everything. I can look back at my calendars, tell you how much I made. Actually, this was before phones, so I used the old Rand McNally map to drive from Louisiana to Galax, Virginia. And when they called to hire me for it, I spelled it wrong because I just spelled it the way it sounds, and it's totally different. But the guy that hired me was Jason Roberts, and I got to work for him. And then like the next year, he'd hire me for 2 or 3, and he would hire another clown, and then he would let me stay on for like 3 months, and I would set up bleachers, panels, work the roping pen, like move steers and stuff, just be around it. But anyway, he was in North Carolina, Virginia, right there. Met my wife there. Early on. Like I've been married 20 years. I was just telling you guys, so I'm only 42. So this kind of happened early. So then my wife, her, she's got brothers, right? And 2 of them rode bulls. Their dad rode bulls. And JB was a little kid. I mean, like him and Luke were probably the teens, 13, 14, 15 when I got there. And, I just watched them all come up. So my brother-in-law, Ethan, he was traveling with JB. And then my brother-in-law, Caleb, who's a little older than those guys, closer to my age, he traveled with them too. And we went a lot of miles together, a lot of us. And the Zebra bull riding, you guys heard of Zebra. Dude,
Southeastern.
that's what built me, dude. I would do all those rodeos, but
Every
then
day of
we
the
would
week.
we would do one Tuesday night, every Tuesday in Virginia at Brad and Elm's place in Abingdon. And then we would do one Thursday night in Statesville where I live, close to where I live, for Boyce Knox, and he was partnered with Tom Teague. Like fuck all those ranked bulls. Bones would be there, and then I'll go off on the weekend and do another Zebra bull rider, maybe a PBR. Before the Velocity Tour, I was doing the Big Bull Tour for Jeff Robinson, and those were my bigger events, And I do IPRA rodeos, and then later I got my pro card, and I do a few for Charlie and Wanda Lowry, and I would just fill in and do so many events. So I had to do those repetitive Tuesdays and Thursdays and Sundays at Stan Stegall's. So if you did those, you couldn't repeat yourself. You couldn't come in there with your jokes in your pants because people were the same crowd. So it helped mold me into who I am now.
You had a crazy schedule, and up here in Canada, if we work in rodeo, there's very few that can do it full time because we just don't have the slate of events, and it's a lot quieter schedule. So unfortunately, the rest of us are stuck working day jobs Monday to Friday to be able to go down the rodeo trail. Did you ever have? I know you started young. Like, did you have a real job? Did you have a backup career plan if clowning didn't go? Because I know you've done it for so long. Did you know anything else in the workforce
Yeah.
outside of working rodeos and stuff like that?
Do you know Hugh?
You damn
what?
right.
Hugh, damn right. I had a job. I had lots of jobs. So when I first started, I worked at a Louisiana Downs racetrack in Shreveport, and I cleaned stalls and help take care of the horses and feed them and like do some welding and stuff. This is early. And that was my job. So that I would go in the summer and pick up some rodeos, and then they would let me come back and do the feeding welding gig at the racetrack. Go to North Carolina, and I would set the bleachers up and stay with him, like I kind of told you that. And he would let me feed for him and just stay at their house and water and take care of animals. All right. Then my wife's father actually asked me if I would work. We were dating. And he was like, I need somebody to come work for me. He has a stained glass business, Law Stained Glass. And I'm like, I'm going to work for girlfriend's dad. This could go bad, if we break up or, you're young, you don't expect to be married, like really.
What if I get fired?
Yeah, what if he fires me and she's mad at me and it ruins our relationship, or I don't, And he was like, no. And so my father-in-law, if I could vote for anybody to be president, like he's a great man. He just always does what's right. He's a great role model, good human. And he just told me, he's like, no, man. He said, I'll separate all this stuff. He said, I literally need a guy, and it'll be perfect because you can go do your rodeos. But I truly need you. I just need somebody I can trust to help. Yeah, it wasn't a big job. It wasn't like I made a lot of money for him or anything. I did like grunt work really. So I did that for probably 10 years, and I would work Monday through Thursday, go do those bull ridings. I'd get off work at 3:30, go to the bull riding in Virginia, meet Luke at a truck stop, meet a couple bull riders, JB or whoever. We'd all get in the truck, my brother-in-law's, take off, go do those events, come back, go to work the next day, over the weekend, go somewhere, come back. So that was our life for like 10 years. And started having babies, and my wife and I, we had 2 kids, and she was working for an oral surgeon. I'm still maintaining the rodeo thing and the lost stained glass thing. And then we kind of realized like daycare is expensive and we're not together very much. And she's only, after driving and fuel and all that, she's only bringing home a few $100. It's like, forget it. Let's just bite the bullet. You be stay at home mom, whatever. And then it like starts snowballing, and I get more bigger events and more bigger events. And then I just can't keep doing the stained glass thing because I'm so tired. I'm like getting on an airplane on the weekends, and I'm catching every cold I go by because I'm just run down, and it's not good. So I quit and made it full time, and sort of like one of those you build it, he will come kind of thing. Sort of how it went. I just gave in, and here we are.
What
When
year
you
was
say,
that?
oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't really know. Probably maybe 20. I hate to put a number on it. I'm not really good with that. My wife could tell me. It's been a while though. It's
Probably
probably
10 years.
yeah, maybe more. Yeah.
Yeah, at least 10
When
years.
you say
Go ahead,
stained
Dustin.
glass business, were you like, am I visualizing like the stuff like in churches and like all the
Exactly.
colors and pictures?
Yeah, it's actually. I never thought I'd be interested in it, but it's a beautiful process. So he's got this lady named Nina. She's deaf. She's his artist. So she starts. Can't show you, but like this huge wall, with this big piece of paper and charcoal. She draws like Jesus, the Ascension, or woman at the well scene, or whatever. And then like they measure these church windows, these openings, and then you build the window and you cut little pieces of glass, let it together, and then you seal it, build these frames, and you can put it in and put covering around it. And I did all that. So I couldn't do the art. I'm not artistic, but I did a lot of the sealing, like where you seal the windows so they don't leak, and installation. I would travel with them some, put them in, and I did a little bit of the glass cutting, and they solder the lead. I did all that. So it's beautiful though. Like it. I never thought I got to see some cool stuff too because my father-in-law, he's done like the Biltmore Estate. You heard of that?
Isn't that Colorado? Like
No, it's in
Colorado
North
Springs?
Carolina.
Oh, okay, different.
It's where they filmed like Richie Rich. It's the biggest house in America or whatever. They have some really fancy windows in there, and he's been able to work on them. And like they were done by Tiffany. You heard of Tiffany and Company?
Oh, geez.
So like you can't even put a value on some of this stuff, and I've got to touch it and see it. It's just beautiful. And I don't know, you remember going to church as a kid, looking at the windows and seeing the stories they tell. Kind of cool.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's cool. That's one of those things where when someone talks about like a job or a business, and you're just like, I've never ever thought about someone doing stained
Yeah.
glass. So that's cool. That's cool. You were in that. There's no Matt Merritt big stained glass pieces anywhere built.
No, there is a Mike White 1999 world champion one that my father-in-law built. It's cool. He built, so it's Mike on, I don't remember what bull. It was a PBR photo, but bull's kicking it really hard. Mike's pushing on his arm, and he's reared back like Mike White used to do, really ranked photo. He's spurring him. And they put it in the window and made it for his door in their home. And it's got his world champion buckle on it. And it looks very realistic. Nina, the artist, she can do some cool stuff. Maybe one day we'll do. I have stained glass in my home, but not so vain that it's of me like Mike.
I'm officially intrigued by stained glass after this podcast, so thanks. I'll be checking out every
how about
church
this?
I go
to loststainedglass.com. Check them out online.
Cool.
Do you guys need a break or anything, or can we keep rolling?
I gotta pee really bad.
You gotta pee. Okay, I was okay. Matt, we talked a little bit before. I just noticed I went I bet that you have some words actually that you are tired of saying on the microphone, or
Do
some
you have
crutch
Subway
words,
in
and you probably
Canada?
notice them. Pardon?
Do you have Subway in Canada?
Every
Oh
little
yeah,
town.
All
everyone.
right, so here's a
Sometimes
game
it's
I'll
too soon.
teach you to play. This helped me a lot. I used to say So go to Subway without saying It is
Really
the
go with
hardest
the
game.
sandwich.
When
Really?
I'm
Yeah.
deciding between cheese and
Let's do it
meat,
right now. Welcome to Subway. What can I get for you?
I'll have
um,
a roasted chicken and honey oat bread.
Would you like that to be toasted?
No, thank you.
What about vegetables?
Ooh, I almost hit it there.
See? So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, go to Subway without saying That's something that I do, a game that we play a lot. Yeah.
Oh wow, I
It's
like
very
that. What?
helpful. Word
So,
games, a lot of word games.
oh wow. What about I think that I focus a lot on language and I pay attention to it and I notice it. And even at the Slack, the announcer at Slack today, same thing over and over and over again. And there's multiple ways to say you're up next, you're in the hole, next to go, or whatever it might be, three ahead of you. But over here, it was the same thing. Oh, it was like a loop, an endless loop, and I was like, there's got to be another way to do that. And I don't want to be the announcer to do that, so I understand. But I'm always thinking about that kind of stuff. And I imagine there was one time I remember being at a show, and I counted the announcer said "ladies and gentlemen" 57 times in like a 30-minute span, and I was like, oh man, he doesn't realize he's doing it.
Hmm.
And I just said again, but there has to be something. There has to be that kind of stuff that's on your mind at times. We kind of went off tangent here, but like, even for
It's a
yourself.
great. Yeah, it's so hard to do. It's a lot of guys don't mean to do it, but they have ladies and gentlemen, folks. There's tons of different crutch words I call them, and I'm just as bad. But yeah, I try really hard not to because I actually when I was 17, I read the thesaurus. No, I don't sound like I did, but I did read it one time to try to find alternative words for expressing myself. Um, um,
it's all we're gonna
it's
hear now as the ums.
it's
Yeah.
very difficult, but um, we play games a lot where we try to I'll get phrases. So quite often, even if I'm not there and I'm watching an event, and my buddies are announcing it, I'll text them a phrase. You got to work this in tonight, and then we kind of have like this no parameters around it, but we have like this point system where like if you work in a really difficult phrase, you get a bunch of points or the way you do it. Brandon Bates was really good at that. One time I texted him, I said, say a 16 passenger van full of Tibetan monks. Next rider up, here comes Casey Field. He's got more composure than a 16 passenger van full of Tibetan monks. Like we do a lot of
Wow.
that. But that's
Oh,
challenging, right? And we do a lot of fun stuff like that behind the scenes that the audience might not know about. Especially when we were that same group working 26 events in a row, and I had an ear monitor, and they could say to me, "Say Beaver's nipple." Okay, let me figure this out.
oh wow. Oh
It's
wow.
that's refreshing, like the milk from a beaver's nipple.
I'll never look at a beaver the same.
Oh wow.
uh,
What's your best one been, Dustin? You've got to have one on that front or something. You and Dave must have some secret games that nobody knows about. You don't
Well,
have to
me and
tell us.
Dave
I don't
have
want it to
our
be
we
not
have our
secret.
secret handshake. Me and Dave Paulson work a lot of rodeos up here together, Matt, and we have our secret handshake that we do. And it started about 10 years ago with just, a fist bump and a high five, and every year we add a new element to it. But it's gone so long now that we forget the elements we add, as time goes on. So we screw it up every time, and timers and people video it and post it and stuff like that. So that's our fun little bit at the start. But I love it when you're working with someone that's got an in-ear monitor, because I love getting on the mic and screwing with them and saying funny words to make them laugh. So yeah, the in-ear monitor changed everything for internal joking and fun like that for sure.
yeah, you can have a lot of fun, and they can give you a lot of material. Like I've been places where got something going really good. I'm in with an audience member. I'm doing a giveaway, and I can't see behind me, and one of the guys with a mic that can talk to me will say, guy behind you. Look at the guy behind you. He's doing something or whatever. You turn around and comedy gold's right behind you. You would have never seen it. So it's helped me a bunch.
Another minus point for me. The attitude. I had it circled here, and I think we can tie this into a couple things, but there's the PBR, PRCA side of things, and you mentioned earlier where you're a Western sports entertainer. You're not a
Yes.
PBR entertainer or a PRCA entertainer. But I wanted to talk about the attitude and where that comes from, Matt, and what your beliefs are outside of the arena and inside the arena. And for myself, just to try and rationalize here, this year, 2024, I feel like things have slowed down for me a bit. And I feel like in the last couple of years, the time of the day changes a little bit where I can sit down at a rodeo right now where I never before would have thought I had time, and I can go for dinner last night and, enjoy it and take it more easy. And I got a workout in yesterday and I'm going to do it today too before the perf and see some people. But like, things are changing a little bit that way with, probably partially where I'm at in my life age wise, but I've always, been around. Every time I've seen Matt Merritt, he's been the same guy. There's no variation. There's no, tired, sad, don't want to talk to you, Matt Merritt. There's, you're the same guy, and I appreciate that about you, and I appreciate you still talk to a guy like me, not having seen you in a long time, but to see you in San Antonio, or no, where was I? Fort Worth this year. Get to see you and hang out with you in the dressing room for a while and just have a visit. Like, I love your attitude, and I'm glad to see it taking you to a high level, but I want to get behind where that attitude comes from.
Yeah, I mean, to start with what you led with, I don't know how to combat that whole he's a PBR guy or he's a rodeo guy. I don't really agree with it. Look, man, I buy a membership to the IPRA. I do zebra bull riding. I host a river parade in San Antonio that is not a rodeo for the Cavaliers at Fiesta. I do PBRs. I do pro rodeos. I mean, I guess I probably do some birthday parties if somebody wants to hire me. Whatever. Like I'm an entertainer, and
Tractor pulls.
Yeah, I actually done one. Flying U, Reno
Mud
Rosser
bogs.
has a tractor,
Monster trucks.
yeah, monster truck tractor pull deal and a motocross deal. I've done those, and it's like I don't like the whole he's a this guy or he's a that guy. Man, like there really doesn't need to be animosity. I want to go work as many cool events as I can and have fun at them and have my friends be there. And I like being friends with the bulldoggers and barrel racers and bull riders and the bronc riders and the motocross guys. All that stuff's really cool to me. So hopefully that goes away over time and nobody puts a guy in a box and labels them. Announcers too, bullfighters, all of us. We're all just trying to make a living, so we should all be able to go wherever we want and not be labeled. Go do our job, and I can do the same job at any event. I feel like, and attitude. I've always said, and a lot of my friends, we used to do something. We haven't done it a lot in a while because we're not together. But that group, we had something we called 15 minutes of honesty. So after the performance, you get down, you have a beer or talk or whatever in the room, and it was you get 15 minutes. Everyone in this circle, just know it's time to be real. You're not going to lie to your friends. You're going to tell them the truth if they suck. You're going to tell them the truth if they did good. You're going to tell them where they failed, what they could maybe work on, because you love each other, and that's how you truly love somebody is telling the truth. So we would do this thing, and attitude was quite often addressed in those private moments where you're like, "Hey, man, your attitude's a little off. You're angry, and it's washing over into whatever's going on in your life. Can't do that, And holding each other accountable is really important for all of us, me included. And I think attitude, talent gets you to the door. Attitude keeps you in the room. Talent can be even overlooked if you're cool. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's there. And I'm just as guilty of anybody of having my bad days and being mad and, holding grudges and all that stuff over stupid crap. But at the end of the day, my job is to have fun. So I need to always remember that and just go do that.
Someone once told me, I can't remember who it was, and they said, rodeo, we live it, and it's a big part of our lives, but it's what we do, and for that person, it's what I do, but it's not who I am. I'm a dad. I'm a coach. I'm a fisherman. Whatever. What is when Matt Merritt's not doesn't have the branded shirts and in the arena with makeup on? You know what who's Matt Merritt outside of rodeo? Because oftentimes we
Yeah,
don't get a look behind the curtain on what people's lives are like, what they love to do outside of rodeo.
Christian husband, father is the order that I always try to put things in. Um, if I had to define myself, I would hope that I could fit into those right. Yeah, I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I love to be with my family. I don't get to be there very much. We remodeled a home built in 1917, my wife and I ourselves. So it took us 5 years. I love my home. I keep telling her I want to be buried in the yard when it's all over. And she's like, I don't know if that's even legal. I'm like, look into it. That's what I want. Like I love our place. We inherited it. It was her grandfather's, and we worked really hard on what we have. And I know it sounds like you inherited something. Like, well, we worked our butts off. Probably could have bought something for the money we spent. Something really nice. But we love it there. And my girls have horses, and I'm not really into horses like they are. Like I like golf clubs, and I got a dog, a duck hunting dog, and I like to hunt. Um, those are my hobbies. My girls love horses though, so that's what I'll do that for them as long as they want to go, and it's really good for my family. My oldest, she's got her PRCA permit. I alluded to it earlier, so she'll have her card after she works 5 pro rodeos, performing. So that's cool for me. She watched Heartland, you Canadians. You got her,
Oh,
you got her wanting to do Liberty and all that. So she's doing really good at it though. She's really good with a horse. My oldest daughter, Rui, is her name. I would give her the keys to a spaceship. She's so good. Like she just doesn't ever do anything wrong. And then I have an 11-year-old. Oh, she just turned 12 actually a couple days ago. Her name's Etta, and I probably wouldn't give her a rubber hammer. She's more like me. She's tear up something.
What's your handicap, Matt?
It's bad. It's not good. I played the best round of my life in the Dominican last week. It's coming into the 18th, and my goal right now is to break into the 80s, so get below 90. I needed a par on the 18th to do that. I doubled it, so I was in 91. But 91 is my best
close.
round ever, if that tells you anything. 90, 95, 6 is probably my average.
Sounds
But I'm
like us
honest.
three. Us three would be competitive if we played golf together.
Yeah,
It
we have a
sounds like.
real
Yeah,
advantage.
I can break 100 easy, but I'm very honest. I don't take any mulligans. I don't do any give me putts. 2 inches away, I'm putting it. I got Brad Narducci, and I talk about it a lot. But if you really want to know how good you are, I didn't realize how much I was cheating. Or just move the ball 6 inches because you didn't like to lie, or pick it up and fluff it, or well, if it was a good shot, so I should have found it. So I'll drop it here and just play like I did, all that crap that we do. I quit
Yeah,
doing it, and now if I ever do get in the 80s, I'm gonna earn it.
it's a real 80. What's Brad's handicap? Brad golf's really good, doesn't he?
Yeah, Brad's handicap's probably a mental one.
Sorry,
Do you
what's his golf index?
I have no idea. He's good though. He's an athlete. I'll be real. I don't know how many of you know Brad. He doesn't look like it, but he's an athlete. Kind of like Rump. He's athletic. Rump can do a backflip.
That's unassuming when you
Oh
look at
wow.
I
them,
know.
right?
Yeah,
What
athletes.
what other sports did you play a lot of sports growing up? I know you talked about high school baseball. Like
Baseball,
what's your sports up here in Canada? We're
football,
born with skates on, so I was curious about like who's your
hockey.
teams and your sports.
Yeah, I played football as a quarterback in football, and then baseball as a shortstop, third baseman. Um, Pitched a little bit, played baseball and football, and um, I love the Cubs. So I grew up in Louisiana. Oddly enough, we could watch the Braves or the Cubs in baseball. I love a baseball game. I'm a fanatic. To go to stadiums when I can, and always been a Cubs fan. So we got one big win. That's it. All these years.
I watched the Rickwood Field game last night from Alabama. They played the Cardinals and the Giants played in the to honor the Negro Baseball League. It was really cool last night. They turned a bunch of the broadcasts into black and white with old graphics for the scoring and stats. It was super cool. If you didn't see it, you should check it out. It was really neat.
Baseball's making some moves right now. A lot of their rule changes and things are pretty cool, I think. And I think a lot of sports will probably catch on. Football has absolutely lost my interest. So football, when I grew up, like Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, like Jerry Rice would run across the field, turn left. The ball's about to be caught. He's going to catch it. Somebody blindsides him out of nowhere. And it was normal. So that was like, when I played football, they call it hearing footsteps. So if you were running a route and you heard those footsteps, you're going to think twice about even catching the ball, or you're going to look, throw you off your game a little. Because hitting people hard and violence essentially was the name of the game. Our coach would tell us, you make somebody remember you. You hit them hard enough that they remember your number, or hit them hard enough that they can't remember anything. Like, it was hurt people. Like, I think it's good. Now they throw flags over everything. Like, the game's lame. It's not even fun to watch. Like, quit. Like, how can you even compare records to a quarterback who's really not allowed to be hit versus what a Joe Montana or John Elway and those guys had to do?
Those guys were taking a beating.
Yeah, I like hockey. I don't understand. I can't keep up with the puck. Like, I wish the puck was like glow in the dark or something.
They tried that in the U.S. for a while on like Fox back in the early 2000s. They put like a glowing puck on the screen.
It didn't work.
Didn't land. Up here in Canada, we said, "Oh, that's for the guys in the States. You can't follow it." So I guess you were the target market.
I've never done it. Yeah, so I don't understand hockey, but I like when you fight. I watch hockey fight. On my Instagram is all hockey fights.
And even those are getting few and far between up here with all the rules.
Come on, bring back violence.
Sorry, I kind of derailed there. I wanted to learn about Matt outside the rodeo arena a bit. So
you're good.
Well, yeah, we could talk about that some more though. What are the other activities you guys are doing on the road once in a while, when on the off days or on the downtime? How are you spending your rest of your day? Like, you got to take a nap, but like, what else do you got to do or get done? What are you working on?
I'm real tired today. I had 6 o'clock media yesterday and today. The day before, I had to get up at 3 a.m. to fly here. So we'll turn around time zones too. So I'll probably nap today, but I'll go see museums. I'll golf as much as I can. I actually have a pro rodeo kids clinic tomorrow, so I'll be doing that in the morning tomorrow. So my week's kind of busy here in Reno, but I like to go see things. I'm just guilty as anybody of laying around the hotel room, but I also really like to try to make myself just experience whatever there is to offer. If I'm in Canada, I'm going to go to Timmy Hortons and have a half and half and experience all that is Canada. Wherever I'm at, I try to blend in.
I heard you get to experience Regina this fall too.
Yeah, agribition, baby.
Yeah.
In November, you'll need the Tim Hortons in November in Regina.
Long John's bad.
When I did the PBR Canada Finals, I came up there. It was in November at Saskatoon. I remember, like, I went to Tim Hortons to get a half and half or something, and there was people that had these spikes on their shoes. They looked like those deals you put in your hand to wash dishes, like they were rubber, or like to wash a horse or something. But they had spikes and they were on their shoes, and I'm like, with my leather soled boots sliding around, I need some of those spikes. I'm gonna get me some.
Well, if you want some material for November, just Google Experience Regina.
I saw that already. Yeah. We should recreate that.
Okay, but be careful, because we were doing sound check there last summer, and I played it, just messing around with Brinson, and some guy comes out of the stands and just screams at us, "Do not, under any circumstances, play that song tonight." He was just losing his mind because it just was in the news, because they had like a whole clothing line, like a whole rebrand of the city that was like, "Show us your Regina." And like it was like marketing. It was city marketing gone wrong, and it was like a total disaster.
It's going to be in a textbook.
It was funny. Yeah, we thought this was funny,
I'll leave it
and
alone,
the guy was not happy. Yeah, it's funny, but it's also like the local arena guy was not thrilled about us messing.
Yeah, again, low hanging fruit. It's already been, somebody else has already made comedy out of it. Maybe I should just leave it alone. Find my own comedy.
Fair.
Just talk about the Saskatchewan Rough Riders in a positive light, and you'll be a hero. In Regina. Yeah. That's the football team up here, and they're Saskatchewan's only pro sports team. I'm from there originally, and if you say anything positive about the Rough Riders, actually it'll be right around Grey Cup time. So if the Riders are still in it,
they're professional.
Oh yeah, the rough tooth.
Do they call him Sasquatch because he's from Saskatchewan, or what's that about? That's another question I'll ask it later. Don't worry.
Yeah, build that into the Regina show. Yeah.
Matt, I said again, son of a gun.
Saying
I did it again. Well, anyways.
Do you want cheddar or
an burger?
You had a run in with the C word with cancer not a few years back. Talk about that and being a dad and having that happen to you and what was going through your mind. Like, how'd you get through that?
Yeah, terrifying. It was scary. I got through it because, like, I don't even see my scar here. Can you see right here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can see.
It was in my tonsil and a bunch of lymph nodes. It was called squamous cell. I say it wrong. Squamous cell carcinoma. I had a knot, in my throat. You know how your lymph nodes will swell when you got a virus. It was like that, and went to a doctor, and he's like, "Yeah, it's probably a virus. Take this." I think I went twice in a year over it, and I don't know if it went away or I thought it went away. You know how you are. I'm not real keen on doctors, so I went back to my home doctor. This was on the road both times, and I went back to my home doctor, and they were like, yeah, "It's probably cancer," and I'm like, "Why? Why'd you even say that? It's stupid. It's a lymph node." And she said, "Hey, you need to go see a specialist." So I went there. And I remember still thinking, this is dumb. And I drove over and I go pulling in the building and there's so-and-so, I don't remember the Wake Forest Cancer Center. I'm like, weird. I thought she was full of crap, why am I going here? Went in there, doctor straight up gets a needle and sticks it in there into the thing. It hurt. Like he had to mash it into the knot. He extracted something, tested it. It was cool because he would give me the results right away. He went in, boom, told me what it was. So like, world falls apart. You're scared. You think the worst. That word's scary, Then like it goes to now what do we do? Well, we got to do surgery, and I'm like, I got to go to Australia, man. Like, I got to leave. It's the only way I can make any money. He said, I need to do surgery. I said, you got to let me go to Australia. He said, man, you really can't. I said, I can't earn any money any other way. It's a schedule. And I had the NFR, I had a watch party at the NFR, and I was going to do it too. And he goes, well, could you give up the NFR deal and just go to Australia? But the minute you get back, we got to do surgery. So, okay, he feels like the surgery is going to fix it. So now this is where it gets really challenging because this is so scary. This word's scary. This disease is scary. You don't know what's going to happen. I had a really high success rate, by the way, like really, really good outlook from the beginning from the doctor. But still, it's easy to think the worst. And I have to go to the PBR. It was the World Finals and the Velocity Finals were together then at the South Point was the Velocity, and then the World Finals was next. And I wasn't clowning the World Finals. So I was going to go to Vegas and then to Australia, come home. And so I have to leave my wife and my kids and go to Vegas, which is not a fun place to be when you're sick. Like Sin City, it's just not good. I'm scared. And I'm really nervous about going to Australia and all this stuff that's got to happen. And I'm not telling people because, you just don't want to talk about it. And I get to Vegas and I'm reading my Bible. I had read my Bible before all the way through. And I started back over in Psalms on my own because it's like uplifting. This is before I know I'm sick. And I just kind of been dabbling and reading in Psalms. And I'm in the hotel and I go down to the Heroes and Legends PBR deal down at South Point. And Leanne Hart and walks up to me, JW's wife. Hey, I had a dream about you. And I'm like, ha ha, I bet you did. Trying to be funny, trying to be positive. And she's, no, I'm serious. And I go, okay. Yeah, I need to tell you something. Okay. What? She goes, through. The word through. I'm supposed to tell you through. I just really had a dream that I was supposed to do that. And I'm like, through. She is not through, but like through, like going through. And it broke me down. I'm like, wow. So I went up to my room and I'm not trying to preach to you guys or anything. This is my experience, right? So I opened my Bible app on my phone and it says, go read Psalms 91 out loud. This is all happening like in sequence. So I go over to my Bible, I open it up. My bookmark was at the end of 90. So the next time I opened it, I was going to be at Psalms 91. So she says through to me. The app says go to Psalms 91, read it out loud, like say the words. I open my bookmark's there anyway. It was like, you need to see this. So if anybody out there doesn't know what Psalms 91 is or needs some help, it's about being under the refuge of God's protection. And it like, here I am nervous, I think I had to do the PBR Velocity Finals, Melbourne, Australia, maybe Tamworth, and then their grand finals in Townsville. And you're scared to death. How am I going to go be funny? You know, like I got real life stuff going on. And I read Psalms 91, just smoked, just like it lifted it off of me. No worries, no fears. I might have been the best I'd ever been that month. Got home, straight to surgery. They got everything handled pretty good. I had a bad scar, couldn't move really well for a while. And I went deer hunting. I was sitting in my deer stand by myself, just kind of reflecting. I was hunting with a pistol because I couldn't hold a gun. And my phone rings, and it's the area codes from where the doctor was. This is after surgery. And I'm thinking, cool, I got an answer to ruin my hunt. Hello. And he said, hey, man, where we extracted your lymph nodes, it was like an eye of a potato. Like, you know how they'll grow out of the potato? He said it was moving out of your lymph nodes. He said, didn't get out in your body, but it tried. So we're going to have to do chemo and radiation. So now I'm crushed again, you know, like, no, my hair's going to fall out and all that. Anyway, the kind of chemo I took didn't make it fall out. I had a very strong version of chemo called cisplatin. I was able to take 2 doses in 6 weeks. And it was pretty rough. Like you take it, you'd have a really rough week and you'd feel better. Time would pass, you do your second dose, and that's all I had to deal with. And then the radiation was a mask. So do you guys ever have a mouthpiece? Like when you play hockey, you boil it, put it in your mouth?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, mouth guard.
They have material like that. It's like a mesh, and they boil it, and they lay you on a table, and they had to put it on me. So from like this part of my chest up, molds to your face and snaps to the table, and a mouthpiece sticking out of it because they want to hit you perfect with the radiation. They had to snap me to a table, 33 treatments. I think it was 33 or 36. Oh, it was terrible. Like I had just being still and feeling trapped in that machine over your face. And it wasn't bad until the very last. And he told me it would be bad at the end. And it was like that radiation compounded in my body, and you basically had sunburn on the inside. So they even wanted to do a feeding tube, and I was like, no, I'm not doing a feeding tube. I'll eat. He was like, it's going to hurt. I don't care. Feeding tube probably hurts too. So I ended up losing like 30 pounds because I could only eat like some ramen noodles, and I had to drink this stuff. This is a miracle mouthwash. It like numbs your mouth and stuff. So I took it, and I'd never missed a performance. I did Reno, Nevada, PBR, did Bangor, Maine, and this is almost the end of the story. I know I've been going for a while, but in Bangor, Maine, it had been 19. This is March of 20. And my wife had to drive me. They wouldn't let me fly because my immune system was shot. So my wife drove me, and we stopped in New York City. She hadn't eaten, and we stopped at the harbor to eat on the Hudson River. And we had some mashed potatoes for me, and she had something. We get to Bangor, it's a 3-day event, whatever, second day or whatever. We get to the room and turn the news on, and the world's ending, right? Like all of a sudden, COVID. They're bringing these ships into New York City. If you've had any contact with anyone in New York City, people are falling over dead. Like you remember how it was? Like it was horrible.
The world was ending. Yeah.
And so for me, it was ending times 10. I'm scared. I'm vulnerable. I shouldn't have maybe even been there. You know, I didn't want to miss work. I don't want to provide for my family. I'm having to like take steroids and stuff to get through these events. And I'm sleeping 16 hours a day. I'm done now. I'm cooked. After all this, I'm going to catch this disease because I went to New York and ate, is what I'm thinking. So COVID was quite different for me because I'm not a vaccine guy. I'm not a scared guy, but I was then. And my whole deal, you know, like it was just so terrifying to think I might catch it. You know, the whole time it was going on for months. And then I went like 8 months after that because the world shut down. We went home. I didn't work. I didn't get a paycheck for 8 months because they would say, hey, in 2 weeks, we'll go to Grand Rapids. Nope. Okay, well, in 2 weeks, we're going to Des Moines. Nope, wouldn't happen. So here I am, just waiting. So speaking of other jobs, I know I keep going, but this all
Please
ties
do.
together.
Please do.
Yeah, thanks. But I had to finally get a job, so I'm just getting over being sick. It's like in November now of 20. March. Yeah, then 8 months I haven't worked anything, and we'd lived off savings, and stuff like that. So I was very lucky to been in a good position. But we're running out; it's getting bad. So I go to this place, King Machinery. I bought my tractor and a side by side from the guy, a really good dude that I knew in our community, and I'm like, hey, I need a job, man. I got to do something. I'm just feeling healthy enough to work again. And I started changing oil and stuff in tractors, like working in the back. I didn't stay there very long, maybe like a month. And he's like, you come up here, you should probably help me with sales. So I came up there and I helped him sell tractors for a little bit. And I learned that kind of thing. And now, actually, I said I don't have a job. Actually, still, it's kind of a sponsorship type marriage. But I run their social media, not run it, but I do a lot of their video content, and I'll edit and do YouTube videos about how to on tractors and stuff like that. So, it's this whole crazy twist turn of events, and to see where we are now, 2024, from where I was then, being sick, COVID ruining my business, it's been quite a journey.
And quite a journey since to, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but like a lot of these big rodeos really started happening for you in the last 4 or 5 years, or 4 years, I
Yeah.
guess, since then, really, right?
Well, I had Calgary booked at COVID. I don't know if you knew that.
2020. I think I
I was
might have
supposed
heard
to
it.
come. Yeah, Brenton and I were supposed to do that together, and then didn't happen. I never got invited
People
back.
changed again, yeah.
Management changed, so the people that had wanted me weren't there, and for whatever reason, I haven't been asked back. No problems. I also had Fort Worth during COVID. My first year at Fort Worth was canceled. Since then, my rodeo career sort of taken off. My PBR career is still doing its thing, but I've been doing a lot of rodeos. I mean, I'm at Reno right now. I've got Pendleton this year. I've done Salina since Snake River Stampede in Nampa. I got Caldwell coming up next couple of years. Pendleton. I'm so pumped about it. Like just Fort Worth. A lot of fun with San Angelo. Yeah, whole new world for me.
Well, happy to see you're healthy, and I assume you're healthy now. I didn't ask the question before, but
No, I am,
in good
man.
shape
Thank you.
now.
I
Yeah.
just did my fourth scan in May this year, so it's June now, last month. Next year will be my remission one. But he felt good all along about it. I have a few things that still bother me. I don't think I've ever even told anybody this publicly, but like my ears ring a lot. It was one of the
Oh,
side effects of the chemo. So like I'll just be rocking along and the ringing just starts, and kind of learned to deal with that. And I get cramps sometimes, like my tongue and my neck. Like I'll get these cramps. I guess that's not the worst thing that can happen to a guy.
still living and breathing.
I just had, as we're getting closer to wrapping up, Matt, I was kind of curious. I know in rodeo for some roles, being an entertainer or announcer or whatever, I mean, we can kind of go as long as the good Lord will let us. And I think, you see guys like Bob and Hadley and these guys that can just go and go and go. And I know you're only 42, and it feels like you've done like what some people have done in their whole careers in such a short amount of time. But, where do you see yourself in the next 10, 20 years? Do you see yourself, just continuing to rodeo and I guess, where do you see yourself in the next decade or two?
Man, that's a good question because I've asked myself that a lot more recently. My children are growing up, and I'll be honest, I've missed a lot. It's sad. I have a great relationship with them. They understand what Dad does and all that, but I've missed a lot. I've started taking weeks off here a little more in there than ever. You're probably just like me. 52 weeks in a year, got to go. Can't miss. I can't work on Wednesday normally. Like can't send you to fill in for me. So I get so much money I can make in a year, or so many events I can do. And I'm starting to sort of look at it a little bit differently. Like, I'm not going to be any richer if I skip one week. Forget it. Just go be with your family. So I'm trying to take in a little more of that. I think like Keith Isley, what he's doing right now is pretty cool because he's gone and made a really good name for himself, worked tons of big events, won awards, and now he lives in North Carolina like me, and he's working rodeos around the house. Some, he's not going hard, but that'd be cool, man. Like I think that'd be the ticket is to go get some more awards, some accolades, do really well, get to work, see places, work with the legends, do all that, and then stay home some, but do it still because I love it. I don't want to quit. But, like right now, man, I left home in March, took my RV to Texas. Truck and trailer, like a pull behind camper. Took it to Texas, flew home, worked some events, flew to California, come back to Texas, end up driving it to Albuquerque, working events in Colorado, working its way. My rig is in Salt Lake right now. I'm in Reno. I'll leave here and go to Pecos, Texas, fly from Pecos to Salt Lake, get my rig, do Oakley, drive to Casper, Wyoming, do it, drive to Kansas. Wife meets me in Kansas. She takes the rig back so they can go to vacation in Florida with it and just take it back east. Meanwhile, I go to Cheyenne for the PBR, Camas, Utah, back to Paso Robles, California. I'm on airplanes. Rig's here. She's there. Like I don't know if I want to do that forever at that rate. I want to keep rodeoing, but I might have to change my schedule so I can chill.
What? But the trouble is you don't get paid if you don't go do those shows. So I got thinking about the movie and doing the what the Nicholas Sparks one. What was it?
No, the
was it called
longest ride. Yeah,
The Longest Ride.
the
Yeah, yeah.
longest ride. Yeah.
So you did the movie piece, but like, what else might it look like someday down the road? Like I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
do it when you're 65. Like I don't know if you want to still be a rodeo clown when you're 65, right?
I doubt I do. Like I said, I've announced and played music. Maybe I could look at Flint, dude. He's doing a production role at the PBR. I don't know that that's the path I would want to go down, but there's avenues for us. Um, we have not got everything we want yet, but my wife and she wants a new barn. I need a new fence around our pool, around my house. I probably need a new roof at some point. Like I'm thinking of big spends, right? Like, I want to buy an excavator because we have some property that would need to be maintained. But if I could buy an excavator, put the new roof on, get her barn built, redo the fences, get a lot of the big spins, get the arena right. We've got an arena in, but finish everything perfectly and get the equipment that I need to maintain my property. I could just do IPA rodeo in Cherokee, North Carolina, make a little bit of money and have enough to eat and pay our few bills, our internet bill, and have your equipment, buy diesel for it, and just go live on your place and work some events, own your truck and trailers, and all that. That'd sort of be the goal. I got a little bit of a retirement deal planned. I've not been the smartest financially, but I'm not the dumbest either. So I got a little bit of a plan. And my wife, she likes to work. Just she has chose to be a mother and spend more time with them. So she may take something up, which take the load off me a little bit. I'm not asking her to do that, but it's an option would think about later.
I like how all of us in rodeo production, we're all the same when it comes to planning the future with the bank of rodeo or the rodeo credit card. It's like, I'm booked here. That's going to pay for X. And once I do this, and I remember when COVID came and we had nothing up here in Canada in 2020, like 0 events. Calgary Stampede Week, Ted and a bunch of us that were supposed to work all went to the lake, and that was the first time we ever did that. But it's funny how every event to us equals rodeo credit, and we can use it to better our lives and hopefully so that we don't have to do it till we are 100 years old kind of thing. So.
I want to feel like I'm getting to do it as well, right? Like I don't want it to be, because you could get jaded, man. Like there's a lot of guys that get sour on the road. It's tough. I found myself last year. I've never been depressed before. I don't think so. But like I went through this deal where I was sleeping all day last year about August. The year got long. I'm alone. Don't have my wife, the kids very often with me, and it's like you get up, you go eat breakfast. You're in this town for 5 days. You go see the museum. Now it's day 2. There's no more museums. Just played golf. I don't really want to go spend another $100 on golf and renting clubs. Just watch TV or look at my phone. Then you end up sleeping, and it's like then day 3, you're just laying around the room again. So like that's not a good deal. Like Ted was talking about, you got to go get in the gym and do stuff, and you can kind of get in a slump. So I don't want to end up being that. So I don't know. I try to avoid all that.
I like the social media thing you got on the go with your folks back home though. That seems like a great fit for while you're on the road because you can do it mobile still and have that
Yeah,
connection and work for that guy and buy your gear from him when you get back home. Like that seems like a great call, a great fit for something else to
yeah,
do.
it's cool. He's a really nice person too. You know, sometimes I wonder why he keeps me because like I'm not there. I'll be in August. I'll go back for a week, and I'll probably come in, pull in the office a couple of days, get some footage of the. He sells tractors and UTVs and some paving equipment. I'll probably get some footage of stuff. You know, I have two phones. I have a phone for him that I can take video on and edit and do stuff. I have my computer. You are actually sitting on my computer right now. I'm doing this on my phone, but yeah, I'll edit, try to grow his YouTube. Like I'm not the best with that, but I mean, it can be funny sometimes. So I try to make it. And we don't try to do all salesy stuff. I want it to be like
Info.
fun and yeah, it's cool.
Tell us where we find that though for anybody
Oh, King
wondering.
Machinery is the name of it. He's got 3 locations
Yeah.
in North Carolina. So kingmachinery.com and yeah,
On
you
YouTube.
need a tractor. Yeah, YouTube. It's King Machinery Inc. Yeah.
Are you
Got
on the
some.
videos showing us the
Yeah,
tractor
some
stuff?
of them. Some of them. I don't do a lot of them. A lot of times I'm on the other side because
Yeah.
I want people to get to see those sales guys and all that because they really like his business model is like Chick-fil-A. He really is. He does what's right. It's not a sales like it's not when I say dealership. It's not like a car lot where you come in there and there's a greasy guy with a cigarette. Going, let me just what
The
do you want your
windbreaker.
payments at? I'll get you there. It's not that. He wants to truly help people because he's like a tractor owner. Like I have small land, like not a lot. I need a certain size tractor, and it just makes me so happy. Get on my tractor and go get my auger and dig some holes and do my stuff. Like that's life goals for people, right? To be DIYing with a tractor. He just wants to help people do that. He's a really good person. I've seen him do a lot of good things for people, a lot of charity and stuff too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Dustin, you got
cool,
anything
man.
else before we wrap it up? We've been a
No,
long time here. It's been awesome.
I think this has been a great show, and I think we just got the big question to end it all, Ted, which we do every episode.
Every episode. Matt, I don't know if you've listened to any shows of ours before. I'm not gonna knock you for not. It's all good. Do you know what the question is though?
I don't know the
Last
question.
question.
I've listened
Okay,
before, but I don't remember the question.
that's
The
all
the
right.
qu-
Okay,
the question is, Matt, is what is your definition of cowboy shit? That's how we end it.
did we?
I
Oh,
try.
you're still there.
So what?
I thought we lost you for a second, but you're still there.
No, yeah, I was thinking because I have a lot of different ways to answer it. You would probably want me to answer on behalf of myself, right? Like
No, no.
the
Be
first thing
anything.
I thought was Mike White's Pasture Open that I announced a bunch of times. Like those guys, the stuff they were doing, that is absolute. They run their horses full blast in places
Holy.
where I don't want to run on foot, like crazy. But anyway, if it were pertaining to what I do, I mean, just the most cowboy thing I've ever seen is probably those pasture opens. But then for what I do, it would be those times where I did the skunk act and the stupid dynamite act and it failed and I had to be my version cowboy like I'm telling you dude, like it I don't know, it's just as bad as a physical getting hooked by a bull as a bullfighter and deciding if you want to keep going. Do I want to fight bulls anymore or do I want to just give up because this hook can hurt? That's how it felt. So if it pertained to me, that'd be the most cowboy shit I ever done.
I like it.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you doing the show with us today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for what you're doing out there too. I know you're one of the first people. I think you might be the first cowboy podcast ever. I don't know if people realize that.
No, I'm not. We're not the first at all. Rick Thompson and Derek Barton had Talk Rodeo like in 2007 or 8 or something. They were the first, and they did it for a
Okay.
long time. Yeah, they were number one, absolutely. And we kind of never talked about it, but you had Roadcast for a long time that you did a show, a
Yeah.
podcast as well for quite a while. And I haven't been keeping up. I'm sorry, but I know that you
I,
I know you did that
yeah.
for a long time.
I stopped it during the whole cancer COVID thing.
Yeah.
My deal is roadcast. I interview people I met on the road. and it wasn't necessarily always going to be about rodeo. Like I had a guy once, he was the CEO of Oakley Glasses, and he was a skydiver and won a bunch of stuff, and just he's a cool guy. So you meet people, and I always tried to record it from the road, and I didn't have the best equipment and stuff, so it was all new, so I quit because I wasn't meeting people during COVID, and then everybody else kind of started having a podcast, so I'm like, get out of that.
I sometimes it makes me less motivated to do it when there's so many. It feels like the space is pretty crowded, but I keep doing it. And Dustin, I'm glad to have you on board to help me keep it going here, and for us to both do it, because to me, winning with the podcast, or having a successful show, is doing it consistently. And we've had a show every other Wednesday since 2017. So to me, consistency is winning on the podcast side of thing. Whether or not the views are the best, or we try to have the best guests we can every time. And Matt, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us here. But yeah, to me, I've said before,
hey, that's why I told you thank you for what you're doing, because I know what it's like to try to come up with content and be consistent, and it's very difficult and way hard, and to take your time and carry equipment around. Like, there's only so much crap you can take on an airplane. So
yeah, I had to pack a little less undies for this trip, so I can pack my pack the podcast gear.
Well, thanks for wearing pants in the beginning, then.
Anything else you want to add here before we wrap it up?
No, man. Just thank you very much, and I will show this. Hang on one second.
Yeah. Let's see it.
I just started. So Lane Frost brand and I'm gonna do Matt Merritt hats. So this is something I've been saying. These are the first samples. You're seeing them here for the first time, but this is the art. And it's something I've been saying to people. If you see people, be nice to them. That's what I'll end with.
I like that. Yeah. We'll be able to find those lanefrost.com, lanefrostbrand.com here pretty quick, right?
Yeah, probably in the fall. They're going to hit in the fall. This is the first prototypes. So
I like it.
We're going to figure out which styles we like. But yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks once again, Matt Merritt. Appreciate the time. Thanks for doing this. Thank you to Matt Merritt for taking the time and doing the show with us from his hotel room. Looked like the penthouse suite at the Golden Nugget in Reno. Dustin would know what the penthouse suite looks like in the Golden Nugget.
Yeah, we've had a few of you stayed in the penthouse with us the once, right? Were we in the?
No, I was next door. Somehow I was next door. I was in a fucking regular room.
Like our walls shared a wall.
Yeah,
there.
we shared walls, but I had a regular room, and you had the penthouse.
And we had the
door.
big penthouse.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Those were the days. But that was a great conversation with Matt. I had never met him before, and
really, man, you guys
never met Matt.
You had met him. That's
no,
funny.
we'd never crossed paths because the year he came up into PBR Canada Finals, I wasn't there. I was there the year before, and never worked together. So it was really cool to visit with him. I've been a big fan of what he does, and really enjoyed the conversation. We could have talked. I mean, that was a long show, but
we could have talked for hours.
Yeah, we could have talked for hours, and he was a really good dude, right? So
I love Matt.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and enjoyed it. Hope you guys did too.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed the show. We talked a lot about hockey on the top half. Didn't talk any rodeo, and I forgot to talk. We just never got to it actually, but it was at the forefront because it was big news. And Dustin, like you talk about, good for business for the Oilers to be in the Cup final. Like, they got every single game they could have out of the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, except for maybe one round or something.
Yeah, maybe one.
If they could maximize their revenue in the playoffs, they pretty much did this year on every dollar they could make. So good for business in Alberta.
And selling out watch parties in your rink, it's like having another game, right? So
and what, like a $16 million 50-50 on the last night?
Yeah,
holy
crazy.
Shit.
Shania Twain playing at watch parties, like it's unprecedented with the level of
so good
of what they did, the business. So yeah, cool. Shout out to everybody at the Oilers group. I was in the Western Hockey League meetings last week, and with the rep from the Oil Kings, and that was before Game 5. And the Oilers group chartered a couple private planes and flew their staff down to Florida.
For
the games, yeah. So
that's cool.
I mean, it's cool for the players, and the fans, but it's cool for if you're working like I do, in an office setting, and these are the people that are selling tickets and grinding her out. That's
Holy.
super cool for them too, because there's hundreds of people that work behind the scenes for these teams. So
Yeah.
super cool.
I forgot to talk about. Well, and I just said again. I've really got on the train lately. I forgot to talk about the all day golf. So the sunrise to all day golf. alldaygolf.ca. We did 72 holes, Dustin. We walked the whole way. I don't know what our step counter was, but I'm thinking that we did about 40 kilometers because we played 72 holes from 5 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. And we started, and it was -1 when we started. And I think I went through like 7 pairs of socks, 3 pairs of shoes. I changed my underoos like at least 4 or 5 times.
Did you powder?
No, I didn't powder. I didn't do any Vaseline, but I made it through. No blisters, surprisingly.
Jeez,
Didn't
that's
get any
impressive.
blisters on the feet, but
or
yeah,
hands?
Or hands, like nothing. Like just
Wow.
like I did not get anything accomplished the next day until about 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So it took me a little bit to recover, and I'm still probably not feeling super 100% again yet. But
raise some money.
Yeah, I raised a bunch of money. I think we raised like another 20,000 or something for the Special Olympics Calgary. So it was a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for donating. Thanks for putting your money into the cause. Like I said, played 72 holes, 4 complete rounds of golf in one day. I've never played more than 36 in a day, so
that's a big day of golf. That's a big day of golf, man.
It was a real day. Donnie
Good
Joe's
for you.
knocking on my camper right now.
Oh,
to interrupt the show.
Donnie Joe's coming. He's probably looking for a whisk and seeing what's happening.
No, he's looking for a cold beer, I think.
Cold beer?
Yeah, I wonder. What do you need,
Don?
Friend
of the show.
You need something? When we're done the podcast, what do you need? We're just recording right now. Okay, well, you want to say anything to the people?
we could see his hat briefly in your reflection of your mirror, Ted. So
I'll talk to you in a bit, Don.
See you later, Ted.
Okay. Anyways, TV. We're in camp in Ponoka. We're live from Ponoka.
So what else?
So you just did Bassano, and we just did Wainwright. We did the golf. The golf was great.
I also got to give a shout out.
No, I was with Cade too. Donnie's son. So Donnie's son was the one that got me into that event. And Donnie came and golfed with us. Donnie played 27 holes. So awesome. Donnie came and played like 3/8 of the day. We had a lot of fun with Don. Don really made the day fly by.
Oh, good.
But tell us, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I had to give a shout out, and I should have asked this lady her name. She was a sweetheart. When I was headed out, I did the Gleason Bronc match last Wednesday.
Oh yeah, Gunner's Bronc match.
Yeah, and I came in the back contestant entry gate, and I rolled down my window, and the lady that was checking the contestants in said, your name, and I said, oh, I'm Dustin, the announcer. She goes, I know you. You're from Cowboy Sh podcast. I listen. And so she was a sweet lady, and I can't remember what her name is, but if she's listening and she worked the gate, shout out to our fan.
Thank you.
In Gleason.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Yeah,
we have a fan. Fans. We have one fan.
Big fan of the show.
That's cool.
So that was cool. Yeah. So
I'm surprised that's what she knew you from.
Yeah, because I said, "Hey, I'm Dustin Edwards." She said, I know you. You're from Cowboy Shit.
Yeah, you're our announcer tonight. You're the
podcast. Yeah. So that was cool. And then I was in so we did Gleason. Then I came to Bassano this weekend. Really cool little pro rodeo that
had the weekend off before though too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we did Gleason on the Wednesday. Then we had the weekend off. I was a barrel racing boyfriend, so we were on the trail for Allie.
How did Allie do?
Race. Knocked a barrel.
Oh darn it.
But things are rolling again. I think we're going to High River Wednesday night for a little barrel racing, and
right on.
Back on the trail. So and then we hit Airdrie this week. But shout out to Bassano, small community, small committee, and pretty special for them. I said it on Facebook. Like when you go to a little tiny town like Bassano that wrangles enough money to put on a pro rodeo and has a small crew that they get the Sherry Servies and the Joe Beavers and the Jeremy Buellers of the world with gold buckles competing in their little town. It's pretty cool and pretty special. So shout out Shauna and Bassano.
Used to be a semi-pro rodeo, I think. Like
it was an FCA rodeo for years, and I think it's TCA maybe at one time or Chinook. Like they've had a rodeo there forever. But the last 2 years they've went pro, and it's been super cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Man,
Yeah.
and we had our first trip to the Wainwright Pro Rodeo, providing the audio and playing the music. And man, I gotta say, one of my favorite perfs of the weekend was the 9 p.m. rodeo under the lights.
Yeah,
That
night
was
perf.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. There's not very many night perfs up here because it's so late in the day that you have to start a night perf to be able to be under the lights because the sun's up so long being this far north. The ended up being oh man, just being so much fun. I really enjoyed it. Getting to work with Brett. I always love working with Brett. Got to give a shout out to Matt Schneider for being there for the weekend as well. Our editor Sean Morton was in Sundry as well, and just solid weekend of rodeoing out there,
Oh,
Dustin.
it's hardcore rodeo time right now. It was
We're in
4
it.
rodeos last weekend. You're at Pinoca. I'm going to Airdrie this weekend with Sean
Yeah,
and Dave.
there you go.
And then
Dave Paulson.
and then we've got you've got Cody Schneider's Bull Busting next week,
Yeah, July 2nd.
and then I'm rolling into Stampede, which is going to be a really crazy 10
Big rip.
days. Yeah, so I
It's
seen the
Cowboy
Stampede
Christmas,
roster.
baby.
Stampede roster came out today finally.
Yeah, even less Canadians than ever. So good job,
What's the
Calgary.
Canadian count?
I don't know. I didn't count this time. Not very many.
There's
It's
a
probably the
few.
worst ever.
Is
Yeah,
it is
but it's
it
probably
is it
the.
actually? Oh
I don't
geez.
know, but I bet it's probably one of the worst ever. Yeah.
We'll have to take a
I'll
look.
I'll maybe do the stats at some point, but actually, you know what? Let's do it right now, Dustin. We can
I think
figure this
I
out.
think there's
Won't
more
take
than
us very
we
long.
I think there's more than we maybe realize. I know
No,
like the
there's
bull
not.
riding.
There's not
No,
very
there's
many.
not. Okay. I stand corrected.
Let's look at it right now.
I'm treading
I saw
a
the
little more
numbers.
carefully because I'm working it this year, so I got to
Yeah,
be a
you got to
little
be
more.
careful.
I got to be a
We
little
got
more
in the
careful.
bareback ride. We got Danton Birch 1, Clint Lay 2. Then we go down to Ty Tipitats 3, Cody Lamore and Arson 4, 5. 5 bareback riders out of 30.
That'd be this. And if I had to pick 5 or name 5 that I think would be there from Canada, that'd be your 5, right? So
Yeah. Then you got Lynette Broadway in the barrel racing. Is Carly Cowie Canadian? Is that
yep,
right?
she's from Saskatchewan.
So that's 2. Then we got Taylor
Bailey
Manning's
Smith made it
3.
right.
Yeah, that's right. But we got sorry, I was going down the list here.
Sorry.
Lynette, Carly is 2. Taylor Manning's 3. Blake Molly's 4. Chelsea Moore is 5.
It's a
Then
different
you
Chelsea Moore.
got. Oh,
It's an
okay. Sorry,
American
take it back.
Chelsea Moore. Yeah.
Okay, take it back. Then we're still at 4. Billy Smith's 5.
So 5 there. So we're at 10.
10. Logan Bird 6. Bo Cooper 7. In the calf roping, you've got Kyle Lucas is 8. It's bad when we can count the Canadians on like one list.
So just
Chance
3 in the
Thiessen,
calf roping?
is that 4 or is he American? I don't even know.
American.
So that's what are we at? 13?
3.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
sorry.
3 in the so it's just 3 in the calf roping, right?
Yeah, 3 in the calf
So
out of
13.
30.
Yeah.
10%.
Okay.
90% American. Just for the record books, 90%. Ben Anderson, the bronc riding. So you got Ben. Then you've got holy, this is rough. Leighton Green, Dawson, and Logan Hay. So that's 4 bronc riders, 5 with Lucas Moxa. Then you got 6 with Zeke Thurston, 7 with Colby Wanchuk. And you got a bunch of rights, which doesn't happen a ton. So what are we at now? 20?
Yeah, sounds right.
20 Canadians. And then I heard there's only 3 steer wrestlers. You got Harley Cole, Stephen Culling, Scott Ginther. That's 3. Ty Miller's 4. Oh boy, that is only 4 bulldoggers. This is rough. Then the bull riding, you got Weston Davidson. Jake Gardner's 2. Jordan
What would
Hansen's
Weston have
3.
qualified on? Would he be
I don't
straight
know.
invite?
I don't
That's an interesting one. I was shocked to see
Yeah.
his name on there. Not that he could be able to ride there, but
he's done well. Maybe from the PBR.
yeah, Weston's been riding
stand.
really good. Yeah, he's been winning
Yeah.
at the PBR, so good for
Yeah,
him.
but
it's Weston.
not.
But I was
to
just
my
curious
knowledge
on
from
the
last year.
like what the. So you got Weston.
Sorry, yeah, Weston, Jake Gardner, technically Edgar Durazo from the CPRA
Yeah,
standings.
we'll put him in there.
Jordan Hansen. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you've got 5 is Jared Parsonage, last year's champ. Corey Robbins is 6. Nick Tetz is 7. 7 out of 30.
Okay. So our
and that's it.
highest numbers in the bull ride.
And the bronc riding was pretty high too, wasn't it?
7? Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Broncs and the bulls is
Okay.
7. Yeah.
So, but I don't know.
Anyways,
like if we compare
like,
that to previous years, like that seems fairly normal.
So what's our
to
total
me, doesn't
number?
it?
Were you writing them down?
No.
But we had what, 3 in a couple events? It's 10%. Like
If
I was gonna go back,
we're at about 30, 28 total.
let me
7
go
in the
back and look
bulls,
at
8 in the Bronx, 3 in the bulldogging, 18, and then we had 10 in the first 2 events, 28.
Yeah, so if I go back to look at like Calgary Stampede contestants, everything.
People, you're getting this in real time.
Real time, doing
our math.
Doing some archives. I was just looking at like how many people have been here before Calgary Stampede.
Well, I mean, last year we won a lot of it. I don't know that meant that there was a lot of
they won
Canadians
4 of 6 of events, right?
Yeah.
So 2021.
Well, was that the year though a lot of Americans couldn't come up, right, because of COVID?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So that's probably not a very good scale. 23 would be a little more accurate. We didn't have all the rights last year, did we?
No, I don't know if they've really ever come up to the Calgary Stampede. I don't know if they've ever really come up to Canada very much. I don't think.
There's been a couple in the bronc ride and stuff. And I know they used to come up here and ride steers in the novice and stuff too, I think, didn't they?
I think so, yeah, actually, because I think Stetson won the steer riding one time.
So I guess my question for you, Ted, and just playing devil's advocate, like out of those names we named, and not to like call out like pro rodeo Canada athletes, but you know, how many more spots do you think could be filled by like comparable competitors in those events? Like how many more bull riders from Canada do you think should be in that group? Like is there like some blatant omitted names from some of these events where you're like, man, how is that guy not there?
Yeah, in the bronc riding, you got Cole Ashbacker.
Yeah, he'd be one
NFR
for sure.
qualifier. That's an easy one. You got both the Hayes, Ben Anderson. Who else? Leighton Green's in. Colby Wanchuk's in. Jake Watson would be a guy that I think could probably be on the list.
I think he's been hurt for some of this year too, but
yeah, Clint Lay's in. Ty Tipatat's in.
Quentin Taylor was a guy that went last year, just about made the NFR, so he could be.
Yeah, he could
in
be
that
there.
Conversation.
You could pick a guy like Straubs Jones, who's 3rd in the Canadian standings this year. I would say he'd be somebody that could be there. Cole Goodine has been there before and would compete and do well. And, you know, if I'm being honest, I think Cole could compete and be just as well as anybody in the top 30 in the PRCA.
Steer wrestling, tie down roping, there's probably a few.
Yeah, and you could say like
you got no Cassidy's in there, right? You got no not a Tanner
probably
Milan.
for one of the first times maybe ever that there's no Cassidy's in the Calgary Stampede.
And you know that Milans and Cassidy's are going to be there hazing and have the horsepower there. So you wonder
absolutely.
why like a Curtis Cassidy's not there and
in the bull riding side of things, Dakota Butter, he's somebody that should be at the Calgary Stampede.
Former champion.
He should be there, absolutely. If you're looking at the new side of things, like the guys that are doing well lately, Chance Switzer, you think of a guy that's an all around champion that could be part of that list. I would say absolutely Chance Switzer. In the tie down roping, Strand Dunham has been lighting up this year.
Really good. Yeah, he's roping
right.
Good.
You talk about somebody that's like a Canadian talent that's doing very well and very young. I would want to give a guy like that a chance. It'd be a hell of a story if they, Clay Elliott's 8th in the calf roping in the Canadian Pro Rodeo today. But
we get a shot at Calgary. Yeah.
How great of a story would that be for to have a guy like that in the
you're right.
in the Calgary Stampede.
And even the guys that are doing really good right now, like going to bareback riding, like that Ethan Mazarenko rides really good.
Yeah.
In the bronc riding, like Kyle Wanchuk's riding really good. That Sawyer Erickson, like these kids are kicking some ass right now in the open, right, in Canada. So it's like if you're going to invite people,
former
Morgan
champion,
Grant's been really good lately too.
Right?
Yeah, he's
7th in the bulldogging right now.
Yeah, he's won some rodeos in the cow.
How about a story like that? Morgan Grant won the tie-down roping, but he's qualifying for another event. Like, talk about how impressive that
Well, the year
is.
he won the year he won the 100,000, he won second in the Bulldogging in the final
Yeah.
4 round.
In the
Right?
Final Four, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
like
Right?
won like 125,000 that day.
In one day.
Yeah.
So
So yeah,
I
you're right.
think,
I stand corrected. There's probably a
right,
few people admitted that could be there,
even the
and
barrel racing, Jaden Wilson, Renee
and Hang.
Leclerc, top 2 in
Oh,
the standings right now.
Renee and Jaden are both riding good horses, and
Brooke
they're kicking
Wills,
ass.
Brady
Yeah.
Whiteside,
Yeah, you're right.
Blake Molly made it, but yeah, I think there's another 10 people at least that could have made to Calgary.
I'm with
Just
you.
just based on the standings, let alone everything else. But
Yeah.
it's still a rodeo on Canadian soil, and I think the problem is that we put the American contestants on too much of a pedestal. And
But
we've
unless
got
you
to
follow them as a
honor our
fan,
Canadian. Sorry, go ahead.
unless you follow them as a fan, like when the rodeo's packed, like when my office mates are talking about going to Calgary and watching and cheering, like they don't know the rights are, they don't know who,
No, but they know who the
who.
Canadians are.
But when they say from Calgary, Alberta, Nick Tetz, the
From
place
Okotoks,
erupts,
from
right?
Airdrie, yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
Jordan Hansen from Okotoks, the place like they go crazy for it.
Yeah,
And when Lynette Broadway comes running in and
100%.
comes around third barrel, they're gonna say she's Canadian, she's from Alberta, and the place is gonna erupt, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, it'll be here we are. It's always a fun day. Last year was so fun when Bo won and Parsonage
Yeah,
won
Jared
and
won.
who else won?
I don't
Oh,
recall, but we won like 4 of
Dawson
6
won
events.
the saddle bronc riding.
Yeah,
Bo won. Scotty Gensner won the bulldogging,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Exactly.
Jared won the bull riding, and it was
Yeah, they won
goddamn
4 of 6
awesome.
events.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it
Like,
was super
so
cool.
you take less Canadians, but the Canadians still win. So
Good work, boys.
I don't
Do it
know.
again, and girls.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, thanks for joining us
There's
this week, everybody.
there's our
Appreciate
long-winded
some,
Calgary Stampede
yeah,
invite
hell of a.
analysis.
It's a big show. Big show. It's Cowboy Christmas. Thanks for joining us, though. Appreciate
Thanks,
this.
Ted.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, this is Cowboy Shit. I'm Ted Stovin. He is Dustin Edwards. This is episode 173. A year from now, hopefully the Edmonton Oilers are the Stanley Cup champions. It'll be episode 199. Probably fitting. 99 if we
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Thanks again to our editor, Sean Morton. Sean, I know you're busy on the road doing rodeos too, and I appreciate you keep getting the show done, man. Thank you.